gentlemen, welcome back to another live broadcast of Freaky Friday. And boy, oh boy, have we got an amazing Freaky Friday lined up for all of you. So I hope you're looking forward to the one show of the week where we ask you, can you handle the woo? And today it's going to be some classic Freaky Friday because we are going back down under. We're going looking in search of ancient mysteries, secret kind of ancient knowledge, wisdom. We're going to be talking about the original people of Australia. We'll also be talking about the Paleo Americans that Nese is here to represent as well. And to help me and Nese do this, we've got Scotty Lopez and a star-studded panel today. So, Scotty, let me come to you first, brother. And we're going out on YouTube today as well, live. So I'm trying to fix all that in the background as well. So how are you doing, Scotty?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Been kind of a hectic day, but hey, here we are. I'm here, and yeah, I'm ready to get into this. It's always an awesome conversation when we're talking with our Australian friends here. It's amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. We always go down some interesting rabbit holes and get into some awesome topics, and so yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready, man.
Locked and loaded. And of course, somebody who was instrumental in putting today's yarn together has been our brother Nese. How you doing, bro? Are you looking forward to this, what is promising to be another amazing 3 hours of radio?
Oh, I am always looking for some giggles abundantly. Hello and hi. But if we can rewind and be kind, because in the Northern Hemisphere, it's a little bit different than down in the Southern Hemisphere. So I would say good evening, good day, good morning from the opposite end of the spectrum. Down under in Australia, our wonderful friends. We have our dear friend Luna, Donny, John, and Wayne, all here again to share their knowledge and their experiences down there as the Aboriginal, which I'm not a big fan of that term, the original inhabitants of Australia. So thank you all so very much to be with us. And if I may add my 0.03 cents from the Paleo American angle, and I'm so glad Scotty was able to join us, because being the only two true English speakers, we'll see how everybody else can understand us.
Indeed, indeed. So let me come first then. Before I head on over to the Wookiee Cave, let me get into some of our guests that we've got here today. And I want to come first to Auntie Luna. Again, like Nese, very, very pivotal in putting all of this information, putting this stellar panel together. And of course, Luna, me and you were lucky enough to enjoy the Our Alien Ancestry conference last weekend, all the way from your amazing country of Australia. So how are you doing, Auntie?
I'm good, thanks, Kev. G'day, everyone. Yeah, that conference was really awesome. Hey, it was a deadly.
It was really, really good. But I tell you what, I think possibly, not that I would ever claim that anyone is better than Evan and Stephen Strong at doing what they do, right? But I've got a sneaky feeling that we're going to be able to complement the information from last weekend just beautifully.
I hope so, Kev.
Awesome. So let me come then next to Uncle Donny. Now, Uncle Donny, I'm going to get your picture back on the screen in a moment. You've frozen up like Shrek, but that's okay. How you doing, Donny?
Yeah, brother. I'm doing quite well.
That's what I like to hear, brother. Are you looking forward to another outing on the Kev... Well, it's not even the Kev Baker show today, right? Freudian slip there. Freaky Friday.
Yeah, scary Saturday. Yeah.
Scary Saturday, exactly. Well, I'm looking forward to getting into some of the images that you've sent me today, Donny. I've obviously been lucky enough to get a sneak peek at some of the information here. And I want to tell the audience this is going to be jaw-dropping stuff. Literally jaw-dropping stuff. And as somebody who made a big impression on me The last time he was on was Wayne. And Wayne is back with us today. How you doing, Wayne?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Can you hear me?
Can hear you loud and clear, brother. Loud and clear.
Yeah, it's been a while. Thanks for giving me the invite to be back on here. A lot more to share, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Oh, awesome. Don't you thank us. We thank you for your time, the information you bring us. And last but not least, John. How you doing, brother?
Hey, good, brother. Yeah, good, thank you, and hope all the listeners on YouTube and TFR Live are doing well as well. And just a acknowledgement and a shout out to everyone listening to your show, Kev. And I hope Scotty and Nese and everyone else is feeling well too.
Thank you very much, John, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you've got to say tonight. So before we get Luna to say a few words to open up today's conversation, let me go and play homage to the people over there in the Wookiee Cave over at tfrlive.com. Now, first up, we've got me and Sophia. Yes, all the rumours are true. It's a weird relationship, but hey, we're both happy. We've got Bam in there, and I want to thank Bam for keeping me right over the past 7 to 10 days. Bam, you know what I'm talking about, so thank you for all of your help. You've almost been like a producer for the Kev Baker show in the background. It's been much appreciated. So we move on to Onslow, Psycho Dave, Cold Brews. Since we're talking to Australians, I think Cold Brews is a very, very apt name as well. I like that one. We've got the Paradoxical Anomaly, Barrel Bowls, Little Giant, Great Local, and the Magnificent User. So with that said, Auntie Luna, let me come to you. We tend to come to you to open up these conversations. So I'm going to shut up and it's over to you.
Thank you. And to begin with love and respect, we must acknowledge Creator, the Mother, the spirits, and all the ancestors of all the lands this voice is being heard in. Thank you.
Thank you, Luna. So where do we start today then, guys? Because you have been kind of putting this together in the background. I don't know who wants to go first here. I have got an arsenal of images that we can call on throughout the show. But Nese, Luna, where do we start here today?
Okay, well, we'll start off with Wayne's paintings. We're going around from petroglyphs to handprints to modified trees today, and we're going to show you around the world how there's correlations from our artworks to other people in the world, and Nese is here to tell us about that side of things too, his side of things. And we're going to start off with Wayne's paintings, and then we're going to go to Donny, who's got some awesome pictures that you've already seen.
Yeah.
And we'll just discuss them as they come up. There's the ones that grab us. So, yeah, Wayne, if you want to kick it off with your beautiful artwork.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that. I put 3 images up.
I'm going to pull them up for you in just a second, Wayne. Give me 2 seconds here. I've got Wayne 1, Wayne 2, and Wayne 3, hopefully. So we'll go to the first one here. Wait 2 seconds. Get all your cameras ready to copy over onto the other page. Boom. There we go. So there's the first one there. You see that? Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Thanks, Kev. Yeah, that's one of the paintings. I have that one in this room with me as I speak. That painting is depicting my country, depicts special places, the large circles, clan and tribal groups that are in the area, in my region, which is the Kadij. There's a lot of links in there. There's Kadij, Alyawara, there's Walpri, Warramungu, Arunta, Southern Arunta, Eastern Arunta, So they're all. That's all the links that are. The story there is talking about those big circles. Sort of represents those tribal groups and clan groups. So we have our tribal names, and then we have clan group names. Some referred to Aturapa, which is I'm from the Sandhill people, so Aturapa is in my language, meaning Sandhill. Then we have the Anangra, which I'm affiliated with as well, which is other Aboriginal people in Australia call it Nungari, traditional medicine people. In my language, we use Anangra. Anangra is another clan group which we come from. So my grandmother and grandfather both fit into many of those circles there. So I'm very well linked. My inheritance is in those links, and the dotted lines between all, and the straight lines, and that's the strong bond. That's the story of how we are really connected to each other. It'll never be broken. Those circles, they go on forever. Our connection to the country. In the picture also is there's a lot of other meanings in it, like bush foods and bush taka, bush medicines, plants. They're depicted in small dots because it's our way of telling, how we walk the country, how to find these plants that we need to survive on. You'll see shades of blue in it. The blue is sort of representing water, which is, that's our life flow. It's generally, as I may have mentioned before, my art is, seen from above, generally looking down into Mother Earth. It's like an X-ray vision in a sense. It's a mix of X-ray and above surface. So circles are telling us, that's where the tribal groups are. Also, is where they're located as well. So it's got its geographical location in there. We have in the centre there, you have three main circles, and in between them you see curved circles. Just in the middle, a little bit more, look like boomerang shapes. Well, that's our mob coming together, our people coming together with traditional artifacts, and having, just in there, you can see there's some boomerangs, and there's, that's the other connection. That's how we are traditionally brought together. We have our traditional tools and artifacts that when it's time to meet, smaller circles in that centre circle is there's a lot of circles in this, and they really represent people, items, artifacts. Depend on the storyteller, the person who's painted it, and how it comes to me in the images that I get. That's when I reflect it into the canvas work.
Now, Wayne, is this very personal to you, or would somebody else be able to come along and roughly translate the story that you're trying to tell here?
Yeah, I think I try to, my work is all about healing. So traditional healing is the colour and the symbols and the particular lines in them are around healing, because what people see through their eyes is it's more calming. It's got a therapy to it. So once you somebody might say, oh, these look really nice, they're just circles and triangles and all that. I put elements of healing in it. So all my artwork is based on healing. Moreover, than say, on all my artwork, there's always healing. So I always say art for healing, because it is what we see, and it's what we want to look into something, and that's you can see on the outside of all this design, it's universal because I put in the night skies and up in the heavens. It's like you're seeing a map from a satellite in a sense, but it's anyone could sort of look at this and feel good about it, and they might say, well, I don't really need to know the deep stories, but what I do feel is the colours. I feel that the symbols, the colours, we can all relate to symbols and colours. So yeah, I think it's can be applicable to particular people. Sometimes a person who comes along and sees it and they have that spiritual attachment to it, and they feel that there's something that they can feel from that painting. So they ask stories about it, what it means, and all these symbols and drawings and dots and that. It's about it's about connecting everybody. You can sort of relate it to, say, a non-Aboriginal community like a township and a city. It's got the same kind of story in a sense. So
well, Wayne, it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, I love the colours. And Scotty, I know you want to jump in here, and then John is going to take it after you, Scott. Okay?
Well, it's very interesting because before Wayne even went into explanation of the artwork, when you pulled it up immediately, the first thing I thought, because stuff like this catches my eye, and I immediately start thinking of things. Well, I saw it, it looks like a grid pattern, connections, connecting everything. And so I was immediately thinking, okay, well, this has something to do with everything being connected, right? And then those boomerang patterns that he was talking about, that caught my eye as being like a helical pattern, almost like DNA.
Yep. Right?
How it kind of twists and turns,
Very like that. Now you say that, I won't stop seeing it.
Yep. So, just immediately, when Wayne started explaining it, it was like, well, that's kind of what I was already picking up to begin with, that, we're all connected. He was talking about the different, everything kind of being one and flowing together, and just this general connection. And that was the vibe I immediately got from it just by looking at it. So, pretty cool, So, I think it's amazing, and it's some beautiful artwork. I really enjoyed the artwork that you shared with us last time you were on, and it's really, really awesome stuff. I really like it.
It's put Hunter Biden's art collection to shame, right? Too soon for that joke? Too soon? Probably too soon. But hey, John, let me come to you, brother. Let me come to you, and I'm glad we've been able to reconnect, John. And I want to apologise to you and Wayne in particular, because I'd promised that we were going to do a guy's night, a man's business show. And that's on me that we've not been able to organise that yet. And Luna's shirking away in the background because she knows it's on her as well. But John, welcome back, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what you've got to say, bro.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. No need for apologies, brother. It's all good. Yeah, I just wanted to lead on with a question you'd asked in regards to Brother Wayne's artwork. So that's what Wayne is depicting, is using traditional knowledge, but in a contemporary way. So we use contemporary acrylic paint and canvas, but the traditional knowledge, which goes back thousands and thousands of years, is still represented in symbolic pictures. So and symbols. So those symbols, I come from a different part of the country, from the East Coast. Wayne's people are from Central Australia. And when you look at geographic distance, that's quite a long way. So you'll be thinking in the US, you'd be looking at say, Michigan to maybe down south. So you'd be looking at Georgia. So Michigan to Georgia. That's the sort of difference you're talking about. In the UK, you'll be looking at Scotland and London. So the distance is quite large, but our traditional knowledge and our symbolism goes right across the continent. So when I look at Wayne's paintings, because I've learned about traditional symbols and learning how to read our language, our written language, which is similar to, in many ways, Egyptian hieroglyphics, where you have symbols, and when you put those symbols together, they communicate something. Just like words, when you put words together, they create a sentence. Sentences create paragraphs. And traditionally for us as Aboriginal people in Australia, the important part of our artwork or storytelling or writing is half of the story is told orally, where you sit down and you learn to listen and understand things by working with people and building a relationship through kinship, because then you get the obligations. Then the other half of the knowledge and reading the artwork is identifying the symbols. So me looking at Wayne's artwork, I can understand half of it, but the other half I can only understand by sitting with Wayne through traditional protocol to develop the kinship and relationships and that two-way reciprocal understanding that we look after each other, and there's protocol and process and how we look after each other. So just to answer your question, those symbols can be read by other groups, but only half of the meaning will come across through the interpretation. The other half comes from connection and kinship. And that's why when Wayne talked about different family groups, it's all about the clan and the First Nation or tribe and the kinship and connection that is interwoven between each other. And that's something that relates to our ability to survive as a people. So we're the longest living continuous cultural groups on the planet. And the reason why we survive is because we look after each other through those kinship relationships. And that's really important for today, because Wayne, as he's mentioned, he's a healer. And I also learned a lot about healing from my uncle, who, bless him, is passed on 2 years ago. But he taught me that these things relate to connection. And part of the woo is the really intrinsic and importance of how we connect with each other, that deep sense of connection. We're all a part of the circle of life. And you need those circles represent that. And, you know, for our health and well-being and the health and well-being of the natural world, we have to understand we're all connected. So that is really important, even today's issues and with contemporary life, where, for instance, we're faced with the adversity of sickness and pandemics. But if we're all connected and we help look after each other in the community, then we'll get through it and we'll survive it. So it's about being connected. So just a message to all the listeners on TFR and the listeners on YouTube. Remember, we're all connected. Have kindness and love. And remember, we're all connected. Have kindness and love and respect for each other, because that kinship.
Well, from a Native American, Paleo-American perspective, when we talk about that connectiveness and the synchronicities, and of course on Freaky Friday, we can't go without the woo, but we'll tell you right after the break.
Wow, we're on the break already, folks. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Holy shimoly. There we go. That was quick. So to everyone out there, thank you for joining the show today. Now, I have been totally off my mojo for the first 10 minutes because I've been trying to juggle plates and get things going in the background. But I'm telling you, working with these people here, I shouldn't have had anything to worry about, and I didn't need to worry about anything. It took me minutes to get us up and running. We're all here now, and already, Scotty, the knowledge hammer is dropping, man. I don't know about you, Scott, but this whole reconnection, the love vibe, the working together again, trying to ignore our differences that are amplified every minute of every day. That's one of the main things that I enjoy doing with the shows we do with our Australian friends and Nese, but in general with the podcast on the whole, you know, because there's too much division. And we need to reconnect with these old ways to make it through to the new ways, right?
Exactly. And it kind of goes back to some of the discussion that we were having yesterday, Kev, about, you know, nowadays nobody just sits and has a conversation with each other. Nobody sits and tries to understand, you know, where another person is coming from and try and, you know, connect with people and stuff like that. Everybody's just so divided right now, and we have to get back to starting to come together, you know, and find our common, just everything that we have in common, you know, because actually, you know, if you think about it, we have a lot more in common than we do, you know, differences. If you really want to boil it down. So yeah, you know, and like I said, as soon as I saw that first piece of artwork there, I mean, that's the vibe I immediately got, you know. And so obviously Wayne accomplished his goal, at least for me, because that I just like John said, you know, I kind of understood about half of it, maybe a quarter of it. You know, I knew what that message was right off the bat, but you know, I would have to sit and talk with Wayne to get a more deeper understanding of what everything is being represented in that piece there, which it's pretty cool, because then it kind of, in a way, it encourages people to have a dialogue. It encourages people to have a conversation. It encourages people to sit there and communicate with each other and understand each other and stuff like that. So yeah.
Very, very cool. So when we come back on the other side, Nese, I'll come right back to you, right? Because you got rudely interrupted by the break there. And Donny is trying to trigger my streaming OCD by turning off his camera and turning it on all the time. It's okay. I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it. There we go. Don't worry, Luna. Don't worry, Luna. Nobody puts Luna on the blanked out square. I'll keep up with the times here. Oh, there we go. It's back again. I'll get there. Donny, you're just trying to make me work today, right? He's not even disagreeing. There we go. Right, I'm going to bring back the network in just a second, folks. Stand by, and for all you wonderful people out there in YouTube land, remember, share. Get more people over here to hear something that won't leave them wanting to argue with everyone. Ah, dear. Donny, can you stop turning on and off your camera? Please. There we go. Right, I'll try and bring back the network. Keep me on my toes, Luna. That's what it is. Here we go.
I'm trying to be inconspicuous, Kev.
I know you are. I know you are.
It's the men's show. I'm more blue.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're here, we're live, and we're going all the way from Australia to America, literally today, because we've got guests all the way from down under. We've got Nese, we've got Scotty over in the States, we've got me in Scotland, we've got Donny keeping me on my toes with this Skype, all the cameras going on and off, but it's all good. It's all good. And Nese, I'm going to come back to you, brother, because you got rudely interrupted by that break there. So it's all you, Nese.
Well, thank you, listening audience, for joining us again. Ironically, on Freaky Friday, however, it would be Supernatural Saturday for those that are down under, because here we are on July 30th, and down under, they're July 31st. But one thing that I want to bring about when Wayne was talking about the connections. So Wayne shared with us about his mob, his background, his ancestors. Now, me being a Anishinaabe, one of the labels that we were given is Ojibwe. And with that label, we were called the spiritual keepers, that we were the ones that were holding on to the ceremonies, the rituals, and trying to keep the integrity and the knowledge of such things to keep it around, because it was slowly being taken away from us by the dominant side. And just like those entities down under, we utilize symbolism in our artwork, if that's what you want to call it, whether it be petroglyphs or rock carvings, or even with our beadwork or with our dream catchers. And like John was sharing, it was more so orally shared, so then it was, like Scotty said, a conversation just waiting to happen. And before we go on to image number 2, I'd like to tell everybody again, Freaky Friday, TFR Live, but you can see these images on the YouTube. And if you could take a moment and share what you're seeing for the listening audience that aren't,
Yeah, I've been posting them over there in the chat room, folks. If you go to tfrlive.com/chat, it's totally free. You can hang out in there with all the great people. And as every picture comes up, I'll post that in the chat room so you can keep up with that as well. So, Wayne, let me come back to you, brother. I don't know if there's anything more you want to say on this particular image. Does it have an actual name, Wayne?
Well, they're all about the country, the land, really. Caring for country, looking after country, like a cultural map. Like all my, just like you get a map of any country, and it has, borders of which country is which. It's sort of duplicate that in a smaller sense, but it's cultural mapping. I have a title for it. I'm putting something together to. What I normally do is put a story behind it, on a Word document, so that I can clearly outline symbols a little bit more. When you speak about it, I speak generally about my artwork because it's all about healing. It's about it's telling a story about where we fit on the map of the world. In a sense, it's like Google Earth. If you were to use Google Earth and you zoom into a particular spot, well, my art is sort of telling that story. So it's about using that, that kind of in that kind of context. A lot of the highways and the waterways in Australia are built on the song lines, these spiritual, these strong lines that tell that story. All these highways in Australia were built on Aboriginal people's song lines, and that included all where to find the water source. So that's why we have cities as they are. The road maps and the cultural mapping was already there before technology came, and they took that information and used it to, because our people already were using these super highways, way before colonisation. We were already using these super highways, and that's what those stories in my artwork depicts all the time. It's about us being here a long time. It's about cultural survival. It's about healing. It's about using the elements in the world we live. The elements are depicted in each painting that I do. One time I didn't use blue because it was I've sort of moulded my I've integrated my learning, I guess, and my cultural upbringing and the exposure I had at a young age to start off in a real traditional kind of context. But now bringing it into traditional contemporary, using blue as because it's a symbol that everyone knows. Water is always colour blue, or it's easy to tell people. In the old days, we wouldn't have used blue because we don't have blue ochre. As I understand, there is some blue ochre in Australia, which is very hard to get, and it's right here in New South Wales, and it's not really a common ochre like all your natural colours, like your red, your white, your yellow, and you're using other kinds of ochres to match. So when I started painting, I only worked with 4 colours because they're the natural ochre that we get from Mother Earth. And then when when I sort of did my research, I found out that because we never use blue in Central Australia, but in other parts of Australia there could be blue ochre, which I don't know where it is, but I have heard of blue ochre being used. Some Aboriginal painters from the very northern tip of Australia, Arnhem Land people, have contemporary used colour in their bark paintings to imitate a particular colour, and they've been able to use contemporary methods to bring that colour in. So I think in more recent times you'll see a lot of blue in my artwork, which when I grew up around my elders, that wasn't a colour we would use. But there is other traditional owner groups that have blue as a colour. It's depicted in their traditional ways. Some people use particular colours, and some people use a lot more variety of colours. So the Pitjantjatjara people would use blue, pinks, all the brightest colours. It's to do with their kind of tradition. They've adopted these colours to tell their story. In my art, you'll see the most generic colours, the 4 ochre colours usually, because that's how I was sitting with old people, and I was taught those were the colours we use, because it just relates to, okay, all these highways and this road map there's sites in there. There's ochre sites, there's water sites, there's campsites, there's hunting grounds, there's ceremonial grounds. So the art does depict a lot of that.
Well, hold that thought, Wayne, because I know John wants to chip in with something here as well.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Kev. Just going back to your question of asking Wayne what the title of the artwork is, and although that seems like a really simple question, what it relates to is your worldview. So from Wayne, Wayne and I, we're brothers, we're related, we've known each other for a long, long time, and I understand how Wayne sees things through his eyes, because I also see the same thing. So when we do artwork in a contemporary way, people look at the artwork and go, oh, that's a lovely artwork. What's the title of that artwork? But for us, that's not an artwork. That's a textbook. It's a textbook that teaches. And that's what these symbols do, is they teach. And symbols have meaning and they have power. Now, when we look at the deeper woo, we're looking at what people call ontology in an academic sense. What is the nature of reality? How do we see the nature of reality? And epistemology is, how do we study and understand that reality? Now, from Wayne and I, and from a lot of Indigenous people, Nese and Donny and Luna and other Indigenous people around the world, we see reality differently. From a scientific perspective, there's one reality and one truth. That's how they see reality. And from an epistemology, they see that scientific method, you can learn about that one truth. But for us, we see reality as having multiple truths and multiple versions and multiple understandings. So
Yes.
the world is not as simple as what science, in its understanding of reality, portrays in its method. So when we look at these artworks, we're not just looking at a picture that has a title. We're looking at the worldview and the understanding of reality through Indigenous eyes, and that's something that all ancient peoples had in common. We had a different understanding of what reality is, and having a different understanding of what reality is means that you get to look into the window of the different realms and the different veils that we actually exist in. So these artworks have similar construction in many ways in the way they look, because that foundation of understanding what we see as reality is the commonality. So as Donny goes through and shows you some of these traditional symbols that have been carved in rock and painted in stone for thousands and thousands of years, this goes back to our ancestors. Again, back to the connection we have. But through the so-called civilized evolution of society, through Christianity, through science, we get further and further pulled away from the understanding of what our ancestors seen as reality. And when we talk about ghosts and spirits and phenomenon that is we see as woo today, back in the day, that's just another reality that we were associated with, that we understood. And these artworks are the textbook of how to understand those realities.
Scotty, you're nodding away there, Scotty. I'm liking this, and you know, when Wayne was describing it, it's almost like I heard Jimmy Jeans talking lately, or recently, about the Bible almost being like a zip file, and the more you read it, the more you get out of it. There's kind of multiple messages within it, and now looking at this art, it's very much the same thing, right? It's a multi-dimensional instruction manual, basically.
Yeah, and also, you know, going back to, you know, when you're asking, you know, what's the name of the piece? Well, if you were to name a piece like that, then you're essentially preloading something into someone's mind by naming it, right? When it's up to the person to interpret what's going on in the piece. So by giving it a name, you're already you're already preloading something in someone's mind on how to interpret it. So, you know, I made a lot of abstract digital art through the years, and I never named any of my pieces because I always left it open for the person to interpret what they wanted to see within the art, you know. So yeah, it's the same thing. And then going to what John was saying, you know, about, you know, their reality, you know, the reality that they viewed, you know, it's, you know, we view reality within the construct that we live in right now, right? We view reality based on society and everything that is going on around us. That is what shapes our view of reality. Whereas back then, you know, these indigenous peoples, you know, of Australia and North America, you know, all around the world, these ancient civilizations, their view of reality was much different. The reality for them was completely different. So, yeah, you know, I'm totally on board with everything said here. You know, it makes total sense.
One thing that I'd like to ask is, as Donnie's in the background sharpening his wit there, can you share with us, Donnie, your perspective of this?
Well, the painting I'm looking at here, it just reminds me of everything's connected. That's how I perceive that painting.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what you said as well, Scotty, right?
Yeah, I mean that was the first thing that hit me as soon as I saw it. I was like, okay, well I see what is it, 9 nodes that are connected by lines and you know, just immediately I was like, okay, well there's some kind of energy or connection going on between the nodes. It looks like a power grid of some kind. And you know, then when Wayne started explaining, I was like, oh yeah, makes total sense. Makes absolute sense that's what I'm looking at, you know. And
just so people know, Scott, I've
everything's-
dropped that over in the chat room at tfrlive.com. We're still on the first image, folks. Don't worry, we've not moved on. I'll be dropping those images over there the minute we shift images. So I've got that covered for you all. Don't panic. This one piece of art, I think we could probably do a full show on it by the looks of it, right?
Yeah, but there's so much in it, you know.
Yeah.
Wayne is representing so much within every little detail, you know. It has a meaning to it, you know. He wouldn't put it in there if it didn't have a meaning. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in there.
Very good point. So Wayne, do you want me to bring up your second image now?
Yeah, for sure. Kev.
Okay.
Yeah, put it up.
There we go.
that'd be great.
And I'll drop
Thanks.
that over in the chat room as you talk. There you go. So you can talk us through this one.
Well, in this one, like you would see that I've used different colours because I'm using ochre colours. Sometimes different ochre colours could be my background, like a base, like you know, because I'm connected to the desert traditionally, but I also have grown up around saltwater country. So I grew up beside coastal areas as well. So I've been able to learn from traditional owners that live on coastal areas as much as I have in the desert. So I'm probably one lucky individual that from the style of generation that was able to be born and grown up in a saltwater country where I lived around water. Water was very well much a part of my daily life, you know, whether it was salt water, fresh water. So I lived in that grew up in that kind of environment. So I sort of got to understand that world, being stolen generation and my mum taken away from the Central Australian desert. But when I made my reconnection back in the time, in the early 80s, to be introduced to this artwork was already my inheritance. It was something that I would come to do without, you know, too much effort because traditionally, you know, art is in our men's initiation ceremonies and women's ceremonies that are still going on today. So in this particular painting, I've used red ochre. It's a strong colour. It plays its role in all kinds of ceremonies, used for a lot of purposes. Red is a powerful colour. So I used the red ochre in this painting to start my story. You know, the vision. It's the vision, really. It's you know, and it's sort of open for interpretation, really. It's for people to look into my artwork, to feel where they fit into the artwork. You know, what is that painting telling me? How does it interpret for me? Because there might be something in your body that's telling you that there's something in this painting that I like. You know, it could be the white, could be white is sort of another powerful ochre colour. It sort of in this painting depicts 3 sights. So I'm telling it as sights because this is my way of teaching, I guess. And you know, the big circle is a major site on country in my region. And it can relate to any region, really, because other Aboriginal people would do similar artwork depicting major sites, special sites, sacred sites, sites of significance, powerful sites, healing sites. There's so many sites, but this one was about telling that story about this very special place. And the lines in between that's the journey you would take from one site to another. That's the journey in your travels that you would travel across, and you would visit one site to another. The ripple effects of the other circles is your landscape. It's the environment you're walking. It's you got some. It's like a ripple effect in water. That's if you were to vision something from in a plane, you would pick this up. You would say, I saw something like that. I flew over some desert country and I saw something similar. So it's sort of like that. It's sort of like saying, well, if you open your eyes and you read into country, whether you're on the ground or you're above the ground, the land will speak to you. The stories will tell you. And the blue is what I've mentioned before. I've introduced the blue as water, because underneath that earth is water. We have sacred rivers, we have sacred streams, and when we have people protesting against gas, taking gas from Mother Earth, from the bottom of Mother Earth, it affects that water there, that water you see in that picture. So I guess I'm trying to highlight some really important things in my artwork. It's like a notice board. It's sort of like saying, come on, people, we need to be clearly think about what we are, what we're dealing with. It's sensitive, sensitive enough. Just and there's probably, in that story, I'm just giving you the surface of the story. In Aboriginal culture, we have beneath the surface story, which brings all this up to the surface. So from underneath the ground, this brings the story to the surface. And this is what I've been, taught spiritually. A lot of it's been taught to me spiritually. My elders that taught me a very traditional way, they would, some of them that see this today would sort of find it hard to understand as well, because it's coming from a deeper space. It's coming from another place. It's it's a long way back. And I guess I was blessed to be in the right place at the right time with the right people to have that transfer of knowledge. And it's reflected in my artwork. And so that's sort of.
Well, Wayne, we're all very grateful that you're sharing this with us today, and I'm kind of proud of myself here, because when I first looked at it, I tried to do what Scotty done the last time, and I could see a progression, almost like a journey taken. And then because of last week, watching the Our Alien Ancestry conference, I got a new appreciation for stone circles and sacred sites over in Australia. So I was kind of thinking along that lines as well. I was thinking about the sun, planets, some kind of journey involved, some kind of progression from one point to the next. But John, I know you are eager to come in on this one, sir.
Yeah, Kev, I'm just bouncing off Wayne and yourself. What you might not know is I work as an academic at a university in Sydney, at Macquarie University. And I've also spent much of my life learning traditional ways, and also in doing that, studying at university. So I have a PhD in biology and half a dozen other academic qualifications.
Okay, John, hold that thought, because I don't want you to get cut off by the break. And we've got about 10 seconds before we go there. So we are 1 hour into our journey down under, and it would appear that time moves faster down under. No wonder they're already in the future, right? We'll be back after the break. Don't go anywhere. Right, Freaky Friday is usually an intense, insane kind of whirlwind, flying by the seat of your pants experience. But today it's like, okay, that's an hour gone already. Wow. Crazy, guys. So listen, let's take time out for 2 seconds because I've got a pile of super chats that I need to get through here before we go back after the break. And I'll be coming straight back to John when we come back after the break. But if I just pull this up here and then let the super chats all begin. Let's see. So we start down here. It was DJ Bison. I'll get you guys to quickly chip in on this one. It's a quick question. Here we go.
DJ Bison donated £2 through Super Chat. Do Aussies originate from Papua New Guinea? Good day.
You see, you'll need to tune into the shows with Evan and
Well,
Stephen Strong. They make a very compelling case for humans originating in Australia. So what do you think, guys, what DJ said there? Nah, not having it. Not having it. That DJ, not definitely not. We're not having that one. Thank you, DJ. Thank you, brother. So next up is Jules, and Jules is somebody who spreads a lot of love, and I love this message. Here we go.
Jules donated $20 through Super Chat. Let's start a revolution of love. Thank you all for the fantastic information and sharing yourselves with us. I love my brothers and sisters. Every single one of you. Love and good vibes always wins.
Smiley face. Yes, that was a very, very, very on point message. Thank you, Jules. Next up, we have the royal one, King. Over to you, bro. Here we go.
King Sweet donated $5 through Super Chat. For your PPP fund only.
There we go. Thank you, King. And then we've got Jocelyn.
Jocelyn Richardson donated $5 through Super Chat.
Thank you very, very much. So that is the super chats taken care of for now. And I have found on the back end of Streamlabs, I'm sorry, folks, but Brian is on his last shift today because I found an Australian woman that does the super chats on the back end of Streamlabs. So I'm in heaven, Scott. I'm in heaven. I get a bit of Australian accent reading it out, you know.
Nah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. I'm sorry, Brian, but Brian's gonna have to. We're gonna have to give Brian the pink slip. He's headed out the door, and
it's blatant discrimination. I'm not even gonna hide it. I'm absolutely, absolute discrimination. Yes, we're getting the Australians, and they're taking over. So thank you all for chipping in with that. Now, if anyone wants to really help out as well, all you've got to do is press like and press share, because that goes a long way to helping other people hear this information. And I think an hour in, we can all agree so far, this is stuff that people really need to hear. It's stuff that will calm down the situation. There's a whole heap of angst and strife and stress out there, and rightly so right now. But at the same time, we can't let that consume us. And we have to pay attention to some of the good stuff that's out there. And some of the ancient stuff that if we reconnect with, I strongly believe it'll get us through to the other side. So I'm going to take a little look now at the time. Scotty boy, you enjoying this one, man?
Oh, I'm loving it. I'm loving it, man. And
here we go, dude.
Yeah, good stuff.
Sorry, Scotty. Here we go.
No problem.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very special broadcast today. We're talking about the ancient knowledge and mystery history all the way from down under. And of course, we've got Nese over in the States. We've got Scotty in the States. We've got me in Scotland. But most importantly, today we've got Auntie Luna. We've got Uncle Donny, Uncle Wayne, and Uncle John as well. So I'm going to come right back to John because I had to rudely interrupt him as the break came up there. John, you were about to talk about this amazing image that you're seeing here. And you were telling us about your actual career. I think is it Sydney University?
Yeah, it's Macquarie in the Faculty of Medicine, Kev. And the only reason why I'm mentioning that, not because in any way I want to, make a distinction and say that, I'm an educated person and my perspective is more important. it's actually the opposite. The only reason I went to university is because my elders taught me that we have to go to the mainstream way of learning and teaching to defend our people's knowledge and to show that our knowledge is just as important, because in many ways traditional knowledge of our ancestors, both all around the world, for Anishinaabe family in North America and in Australia and New Zealand, in different parts of Europe, in all continents, is primitive knowledge, and it's not really a basis of factual understandings of the world. And it's then pushed into archaeology and anthropology, and it's not seen as legitimate as science. But I've got a PhD. I worked hard to learn the mainstream way of knowing, and what I'm saying to the TFR listeners and to all the crew on YouTube is our traditional knowledge is worthy, and it's based on ancient knowledge that is important, and it's a part of all of us because of that connection. And when we look at the way we teach that at university, being in the Faculty of Medicine, the andragogy, or the ways we learn and teach adults, and pedagogy, the ways we learn and teach young people, because I'm also a qualified middle years teacher, the knowledge that we share is very different, because the way Wayne is talking about learning and teaching, it's quite advanced. It's quite important. And our school systems in the Western world and in the mainstream contemporary world cut out a lot of these approaches to teaching and learning. And because they cut out these approaches to teaching and learning, they disconnect us. They disconnect us from understanding the world of Wu. They disconnect us from being able to connect the dots and open our minds. And for instance, look at an artwork like Wayne's artwork, and to be able to reflect on it, to be able to put different pieces together, to be able to connect with not just human beings, but the natural world and the spiritual world. So my role at university is in many ways to bring in traditional knowledge, because it is innovative, it is important, it is significant, and there's new ways of learning. And that's why I'm bouncing back off Wayne, because we worked together in the past, and it's about bringing the listeners to a new worldview, to say our ancient knowledge is important. The way of understanding Wu is connected to that kinship of our ancestors.
Scotty, I'll come to you here. Just listening to Nese as well. There was somebody in the chat said this is the kind of information that usually only gets passed on kind of lip to ear. And I don't know about you, Scotty, but I always feel very, very lucky, very blessed that we're able to participate in shows like this. Because for white fellas like us, this is kind of like a rare treat, dude. Pretty rare treat, So I don't know, it's hard to convey how I feel about being part of this, because it's something bigger than us. It's something huge, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel honored that, Wayne and John and Donny and Luna are, willing to share this knowledge of their culture and everything with us, and give us a deeper understanding of what's going on. I mean, not many people get this opportunity, right? I mean, your average person in America doesn't really have the opportunity to sit with somebody from Australia, of the original peoples there, and get an understanding of, their perspective and how they learn and everything like that. And to John's point, how arrogant is it of sort of where we're at currently, to where science and mainstream study just kind of like discounts everything that had been going on for thousands and thousands of years, the way people were living and the way people learned, and it's just it blows my mind how all of a sudden that just all of a sudden doesn't mean anything. That just it's a very arrogant viewpoint to have to discount a people like that and discount a way of learning. And so yeah, I'm totally on board with what John was saying as well. And yeah, I mean, the way we're learning right now, you know, the mainstream way of learning is not a way of learning. I mean, you know, we're like visual learners. We learn through people talking to us, you know, and the way we're taught now, it's like you're not even taught. You're taught to repeat. You have to be a repeater and just repeat the things that are being told to you. Whereas when you're having a conversation like this, you're not being taught to repeat. You're kind of being taught to look into yourself and pull something out that you feel, right, of how you understand it, how you interpret it. And yes, there is a story there that you're going to continue to pass on, right? But it's not like this this way that we're taught, or that we're meant to learn, you know, in this modern society that we live in.
As we learn the difference between his story and history, in North America, the Paleo-Americans and what they went through in the conquering, you know, of the assimilation, and then it was almost like the powers that should not be perfected it. And then they went to Australia and they said, hey, you know, instead of trying to work with the indigenous people, it's best to just act like they're flora and fauna and just wipe them out. And in that sadness of each individual, from my perspective of answering, when one of these elders dies, we say it's like burning down a library. So when you go into the academia, like I did myself, to go into Native American studies to become a book smart Indian. And then I found out that I'm learning a perspective of academia. And so then I get involved with rituals and ceremonies, and it just broadened the whole horizon of that education. And that education is not listening to someone lecture, not listening to someone showing you pictures and words and stuff like that. It's literally on-hand experience. And so when an elder looks at a younger entity and says, hey, this person's going to be a good historian, this person's going to be a good person to make, you know, didgeridoos or something that is beneficial for the people, then they would take them and help them experience the knowledge and gain it right there tactilely, you know. And this doesn't go along with the mainstream education. You know, they want us to be caught up into words. So when we think of if we think of the word, or if we think of a bird, more times than not we think of the word bird instead of thinking of the actual bird itself. You know, so Wayne, when he shares this incredible, you know, gift that he's given us of learning from that visualization to where it's entering us in a new facet, because we're utilizing the advancement of technology to continue on teaching our children about us in totality. So thank you again, John and Wayne and Luna and Donny, for joining us and sharing this information.
Oh, absolutely. Auntie Luna, over to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to share something with you that happened to me, just to show you a different way of learning. When the kids were younger, we took them to Uluru, and while we were there, I had the chance to sit down with one of the old aunties there. But the way it happened wasn't normal. She was sitting down in the desert painting, and I sat with her for 2 days and we never spoke a word to each other. she would just paint and sing and then sit there and laugh, and we'd smile. And I knew this communication was going on between us, and much was being shared, but there was just silence. And I just sat there with my baby because she was very young. I was feeding her, and we sat on the ground while she painted, and did that for 2 days. And on the third day, she actually spoke to me when I had to say goodbye. And that's when I realised she actually spoke English, because a lot of them don't speak English. But we have a thing called Didiri, and what Didiri is, it's a deep, deep listening, a deep stillness and a deep listening. And when we paint and when we do our artworks and all that, when we walk in the bush and we connect, we use that Didiri. And it's taught to us sitting by the campfire, just looking into the flame, that silence. But silence is very loud, is what we've learned. And in that silence, there's much to hear. And through Didiri, that sitting there silently, there's very loud communications always going on. And we're taught to listen to that silence.
It's amazing that, Luna, you know, when I go home up to Inverness, and sometimes laughs, because every night without fail, rain, hail, sunshine, we're out the back and we light the chimney. We get a fire going. And I don't know, there's something about just sitting there outside, looking into the fire, not even thinking about anything in particular, just looking into it. There's something really kind of deep about that, I find anyway.
You know what I find, when you're sitting in that silence, it allows your mind to relax and your spirit to relax, so you can receive all that information that's coming either visually or in your ears, like with Wayne's painting, just sitting there quietly looking at him. It allows the information to go in, and a lot of it triggers our DNA memory. One thing I wanted to say with Wayne's painting, because I'm a healer too, and when he paints, I actually see his paintings come alive. And the more I look at him, it's like someone's, you know, done a computer cartoon imaging thing, and I look at it, and the more I look at it, the more it comes alive and the more information it gives me. Yeah, it's really, really powerful. But we learn all that in what we call Didiri, that silence. So that's all I want to say.
Scotty boy.
But, you know, when you were talking about the fire and everything, like, I have a very hard time, like, trying to sit and clear my mind and meditate and do anything like that. I mean, my mind races at 1,000 miles an hour constantly. Like, I can barely sleep because of it. But the one of the things that actually puts me into, like, a meditative trance is staring at a fire, whether it be a campfire or the fire in our wood burning stove or anything like that. Like, I'll just sit there and I just, like, I almost go into, like, where I start dozing off, but you're, like, almost in a meditative, like, lucid state by staring at the fire. And there's something about that, man. There's something about staring at a fire that, like, it triggers something. It triggers something in your body or something like that, or in your DNA, you know, that it's just like some ancient sort of remnant or memory or something that you tap into when you do that. So yeah, that's very powerful. And then to what Luna was saying about, you know, like a different way of learning, right? You know, people used to just observe what was going on around them in nature and learn from that. Right, you learn from the patterns that occur in nature. You learn from the animals and what they do and the patterns that they follow and the things that they do. You learn from just everything around you, and that is a very essential way of learning, because by doing that and being able to kind of like be one with everything around you, because you've observed it all, you know how it all works, you understand how everything works. It gives you a greater understanding of basically everything as a whole, you know. So, you know, that's why I always say we have to start getting back to connecting with nature. We have to start getting back to connecting with some of the old ways we've done things. It doesn't mean completely throwing out anything that, you know, modern society has given us. We just have to strike a balance between it, right? Like Wayne has struck a balance. He's using modern, mediums to create these amazing stories on canvas. We're using technology right now to share this with the world. We're using Skype, and we're showing everybody these amazing pieces. So, we can find a balance. We have to, I think that's the main thing that we have to take away from all this. We have to be able to strike a balance between the two. And I think if we were able to do that, I think like humanity would just like rocket into the stratosphere, but we get so caught up in kind of the now and what's going on in modern society that we don't have this connection. And I think that's an integral part of everything, is we have to have that connection. We have to have that understanding. So
no, absolutely.
If we critically look at technology and science, it's basically mimicking the natural way of things. Because like if we look at the process of how a computer works, the computer basically works exactly how our brain works, and it's almost like this need of the powers that should not be, to where they're like, we need to prove to something that we can create life beyond the natural way of a man meeting a woman and the Big Bang happens. AI, maybe not.
Maybe not. Now let us move on to the next image then. Let me bring up this artwork here, and I'll post it over at TFR. Wow.
Whoa, that's
okay. I wasn't ready for this one. This is absolutely amazing, Wayne. Talk to us about this, brother. I think you're muted up, Wayne. You're muted up, brother. There we go.
Yeah, this painting depicts, both physical and spiritual. There's two elements in here. There is also a spirit behind it, like in the sort of red color. That red color is like a spirit being behind. Somebody might interpret it as a Bigfoot behind there, but it's really an invisible wall. It's like an invisible wall, like between spiritual and reality. And the other prints behind it, the fan prints, the spiritual people that are behind on, and it's all about healing. This is about touching, feeling. Our minds have energy, our brains have lots of lines and lots of things going on in it. And the circles and that represent energy, high energy that's being, coming out in this painting. It's about what's actually happening is, we get too caught up in the world where it's time to sort of slow down and put the two power sources at the palm of your wrist. Inside there it's the traditional energy that healing. Now healing is something that we all have, as human beings. It's not just an Aboriginal thing, by the way. It's we practice traditional healing, but I think over many millions of years, there's that part of the DNA that's been lost. It's like sometimes people have to relearn how to heal, and sometimes it's taking your mind away from the materialistic world to put that on the back burner in a sense and say, well, we all had it and we were all born with it, and it's about relearning, picking up something that you just need to relearn. I always believe that everybody can relearn anything, and this story is about between reality and the spiritual world. It's like, you know, I wanted to show a story about that, and
Well,
it was just
when-
like a glass. You know, you put your hand up on a glass panel, and you're just sort of saying, you know, that's as far as I go. You know, it's like that invisible wall.
Well, Wayne, I must admit, when I first seen this, I'm thinking right off the bat, as above, so below, and a connection between the physical and the spiritual world. And I see the two white hands as being almost a physical kind of symbol, and then you've got almost the shadow hands in the background coming from the kind of spiritual, more ethereal kind of plane. And I must admit that does look like a big red Bigfoot in the background now as well. But yeah, this the kind of balance, that the fact that the two are very strongly interconnected, and you can't have one without the other. That's what I got from it right off the bat, anyway.
Yeah, well, that spirit person wasn't in there before that appeared.
Wow.
So that spiritual side of it came into the art. Now, that wasn't intentional. It was just that the spiritual, you know, being came in and wanted to show himself or herself into the art, because it was a special painting, and I you know, it was the messages that was coming through me to portray. And then suddenly, like with some of my works, things appear.
Well, me and Scott audibly gasped when we first seen this picture, both at the same time for some reason. And John, I know you want to now compliment and add on to what Wayne has been saying here.
Yeah, so like both Wayne and I understand that there's the spiritual beings, there's other entities that are animate and conscious spirit beings that exist with us in different realms. So, for instance, when Wayne's talking about that, the big hairy man, we call him Yaori, those beings for us, they're teachers. And even the little people, the Winnamboos,
Yes.
my elders, they taught us that those beings, you can interact with them and they'll teach you how to become stronger healers. And when I was younger, the first time I met Wayne, we all camped together. And because Wayne Nunga is a healer, he has a spirit being that is, you know, it connects and supports him. And I seen that being come to me and check me out. And that was a Winnamboo. That was a little people. So, you know, these things connect to not just the physical realm, but the spiritual realm, and they're real. You know, they're real things. And if you learn how to open up, like Amory was saying, that Dadari, or the different way of quieting your mind and your spirit and opening yourself up, and then like Wayne saying, connecting to that deep DNA connection to our ancestors, things will start to come to you, and then you open your mind up, and these things which we see as woo and foreign and spooky, they become normalized. And for us, you know, when you talk about UFOs and ghosts and spirits, like, that's not big, because for many of us, they're part of our lives, and it's normal because the way we learnt to learn and to teach, it's all a part of that. And you know, I know Donny's got some
I don't know, $10 to see me dancing as a pineapple.
Paul Baker donated 10 Australian dollars.
Ghosts or the kind of, you know, the really kind of common stuff people talk about. But this here, it does, Scott, this goes woo meets the road, right? It's like different.
Yeah, this is what I would call next level woo, or going super deep. We're going real deep when it comes to this kind of knowledge.
Because the woo is something that we tend to like get into, Scott, to bring people together. Like, people forget about some of the crap going on in the world. But with this level of woo, there's actually important lessons to be learned for all of us here, I think.
Exactly. I mean, this is what we're all doing right here, right now. Is we're all learning. We're all trying to. We're all having a conversation. We're all interacting with each other, and we're all trying to understand, you know, what our role actually is. You know what I mean? And so yeah, this is some deep stuff. This is some deep level sort of knowledge and stuff that we're talking about here. And yeah, and whenever we get back, Kev, I kind of want to add on to what Wayne was talking about with the healing stuff, and how everybody has that ability. And I'll just kind of bring up a good example of it too whenever
Okay.
we come back.
I'll get John to finish off his point, and then you can take it from there.
Okay.
Then we'll get
Yeah.
Wayne to share any final thoughts on his art, and where people can see more of it. And then we'll dive into Donny's kind of pictures we've got here as well. How's that sound?
Fantastic.
Sound good?
Sounds like a deal, man.
I'm
Yeah.
so excited about Donny sharing, because by this time his wit should be so sharp, the way he's been polishing that.
Telling you, Donny, I've obviously seen the pictures here.
It's brother.
Yeah, I can't talk highly enough of Evan and Stephen Strong, okay? Everyone knows that. But when I look at some of the images you provided here, Donny, this has got to be on a par with the kind of stuff that they were showing us on the Kev Baker show last week. So I am really, really interested to hear or what some of these things are, where it all comes from. And for the audience out there, we have barely even got started yet. I know we're halfway through the show, but this is, it's almost like one of Wayne's paintings. We're going to cram so much into 3 hours here that you might have to listen to it a few times to unpack different sections of it. It's going to be multi-layered, quintessential, knowledgeable woo. There you go. I don't think I've ever dealt in that level of woo before. It's quite intimidating, to be honest with you. Here we go.
Wow.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. No Wookiee today, because we are all in the classroom. Yes, indeed. We're all learning lots today, and I hope you're enjoying this conversation so far. I want to thank Auntie Luna, Uncle Wayne, Uncle Donny, Uncle John, Scotty, Nese for being a part of what has already been a pretty stellar conversation. And this is, like I said during the break to everyone, quintessential, knowledgeable woo. There is something for all of us to be learning here today, and I hope as many people as possible, whether it's now live or in the archive later, really take the time to unplug from everything else and just absorb what you're hearing and seeing here today. I need to pinch myself. This is the kind of show that I dreamt about putting together back when I used to listen to Coast to Coasts and had ideas of maybe doing a wee YouTube channel and things. This takes it to whole new levels altogether. So less from me. Scotty's going to chip in a moment. I'm going to go back to John now to finish off the points he was making. But like I say, we've barely even got started because we're about to unpack all of Donny's high-level woo in a moment as well. So John, back to you, brother.
Thanks, Jeff. Working in the Faculty of Medicine at Macquarie University, it's important for me. And it's important for me to teach doctors because I work to help train doctors to see a different way of healing, to understand different ways of knowing. And for them, I try to help them remember that just because something different is different doesn't mean it's wrong. And we take them out and we do smoke and ceremonies for them, and we do Aboriginal ceremonies, and we teach them deep listening. And we tell them that that's a part of healing for the doctors, the trainee doctors, to be able to listen. Just be quiet, close your mind, and listen to your patients. But I'd also like to just pass it over to Scotty, because I know Scotty wants to talk about healing as well. Thanks, Kev.
Well, can I ask you a quick question there? How receptive are the kind of mainstream?
They're very accepting because we take them outside of the classroom, we take them to traditional healing places, and they experience. They're not just given a PowerPoint or a Skype or a Zoom meeting where we unpack curriculum and content. No, we take them out, we make them sit, we make them, in a sense, be patient and close their minds off to the chitter-chatter that they hear in their heads, and just be and connect with each other and connect with country, connect to the deeper part of who they are. And that helps them create culturally safe spaces for their patients, to connect with patients and help them heal. So I'm very appreciative of the way they respect that knowledge at the university.
That's very encouraging, yes. So Scotty, over to you, man.
Well, talking about the healing thing, right? And for some reason, I keep staring at that painting, or I keep staring at that work there.
It's almost alive, isn't it? It's like it's alive, dude.
Yeah, I'm actually going to save it. I might even put it like as my kind of background profile thing on my Facebook or something. It's that entrancing to me for some reason. So there's something to it that's really speaking to me. But going to the the healing thing, I mean, this is something, like Wayne said, everybody has this ability. And I would say an excellent example of it is, say when you're little and you get hurt, right? And you're comforted by your mom or your grandma or something like that, and you just start feeling better. That's that healing ability that everybody has laying dormant in them. When your mom says, "Oh, I'm gonna kiss your boo boo," and it'll feel better, right? And it does feel better, and it's not just some mental thing. There's actually a healing property to that. That's actually healing energy going into, transferring from mother to child, or from grandmother to child, or from anybody, anybody that's comforting somebody or putting out those healing vibes. That's what that is. And another thing is we talk about, quote unquote placebo, the placebo effect. Well, the placebo effect is that natural, latent, dormant ability for us to heal ourselves with those healing energies. That's what the placebo effect is. It's not just, oh, well, he thinks it's going to heal him, so he's somehow tricked himself into thinking he's feeling better. No, they're actually feeling better. Placebos actually work, and placebos have actually reversed, conditions and things like that. So, what you're doing when you give somebody a placebo is you're kind of inadvertently forcing them to tap into that ability of being able to heal and channel that healing energy. I think John might be able to chime in a little bit about that as well. I mean, if he can kind of confirm if he thinks that sounds right or not. But I mean, I think that's what that is,
Yeah, for sure. And again, science doesn't have the tools to be able to measure and understand everything. Science is a discipline and a worldview that is based on tools of measurement. So how does science measure that spiritual component of healing? The sense of a intervention from a different realm. How does science measure that when it has no tools to do that? So again, when we look at the woo of talk about little people and spirits and all that sort of stuff, science can't measure it because it doesn't have the tools. Just like science didn't understand what radiation was, and people died of cancer when they were dealing with, nuclear and radiation. We don't understand what that is, but it's killing people. Oh, now we have a Geiger counter. We have a tool of measurement. Now we understand it kills people. So it come from the realm of woo. Oh, this power that kills people to a measured understanding of a scientific fact. So, again, you know, as Scotty said, that those healing things are real. It's just that science can't measure it at this present time.
Very well said. So, Wayne, any other comments about your paintings before we kind of bring in Donny's artwork and all the stuff we've got here?
Yeah, I think it's important to, when you look into the art, it's what your eyes see. So it's the quickest way into your body. So you're sending messages to your brain. So, you know, if you have an ailment in your body, you focus on that. You focus on what I see is giving me some inspiration to heal. So it's your body, it's registering, and it goes through your eyes registers to your brains, then your brain sends signals into where you're having your issue, your medical issue. And it's important that all the art that I do is based on visionary. It's visual stuff, because it sort of gives you, if you're not confident or don't understand it, just like Johnny and all of us have been saying, it's about focusing, being silent, just understanding what you're looking at. Give it some time. Like, we flick these images up very quickly, but you need time. You need time to deeply look into the images, because the images have got what you want. It's something there. It's a good feeling story. You know, it's teaching you. It's teaching your body how to heal itself, because everything we see, you know, we see through our eyes. It gives messages. Sometimes it's about feeling, and you know, in the next session with Uncle Don there, that'll be more about the feeling stuff. You know, that's where another healing and energy. He'll talk a lot more about that. But sometimes it's not just an image that I've portrayed. It's objects as well. You know, but this is one form of it. And I, you know, like Johnny said, it's hard to, from the scientific world, it's hard for any doctors or anyone to measure this. You know, because it's like the tools are not there. Exactly what Brother John said. There's no tools to measure it. When I take people out on country, they're very sick people. Sometimes I have petrol sniffers. Sometimes I have drug addicts. I have all kinds of people that come out on country with me. And when I take them into the bush, and they're just touching that earth, and they're just feeling everything around them, all the elements that are coming into that, they feel good. They feel like all that rubbish stuff that they've been thinking about is getting washed away. It's like your mind's getting clear. You're starting to feel like, I can see things, I can feel things. You don't tend to focus on those negative things that can affect you, say sometimes in a city environment where there's too much peer pressure. People can't get out of that. It's like a trap for them. And I think being out on country, it could be anywhere. It could be a park in a city, for example. It's about connecting to the elements that are there already, you know, and tuning into the right ones. So, sorry, I dragged on a bit, but I think it's important to say that, the scientific world can't measure it, but the individual can measure it themselves. They can feel good about walking this earth, and it might give them a lease of life.
Now, Wayne, don't you ever feel like you have to apologise for giving us this knowledge? We should be thanking you for taking time out to kind of teach us this stuff. So, John, I think you were wanting to jump in there, right?
Well, I want.
There you go, Nese. On you go, bro. On you go.
Well, I wanted to ask Wayne, and I apologize. I'm not trying to make you or have you feel awkward or anything, but is there any possibility where the listening audience or those that are interested can reward you or give you some type of financial support and be honored with your paintings. And if you have a way that they can contact you and have even, because if I would like to think that there's people out there that are instantly attached to this imagery that you're sharing, and that they may feel it necessary, that they need that in their own healing modality. So my question is how does the listening audience get a hold of you, and is it possible to retain your art for some type of reward or, something, a trade or something like that, if you would, sir?
Yeah, and I'd be happy to share a contact, and if people want to contact me directly about some of my work, and ideally, any sale of art and that, we want to put into healing workshops, and we want to share that, and looking at gallery, and a gallery which is sort of like a healing gallery in a sense. It'll have workshops attached to it. It'll be I might be there in person and physically healing people at the same time. I think it's important. I'm not just talking about this healing stuff. I think in the physical world, I can meet people who are open to, say, wanting to be healed in a different way. Whereas me, I don't actually touch people. I use my mind. I use it's a bit like Reiki in a sense. If you want to put it to a modern context, it's old people have taught me. My teacher who passed away sometime was spent some time with me, and it's about actually not just talking about it. It's not just painting it. It's about a physical world. So any support from the audiences out there that want to contribute to that. That's us spreading out the healing message. They might want a piece themselves that they might write to me personally and say, look, I'm not feeling well. There's something that's happening in my body. I can get a conversation going of their favourite colours, their favourite shapes, because all this information has to be a two-way learning. I need to have information to give my healing, as I've done with a number of people that bought art off me privately, and they bought it for healing purposes. They didn't buy it so much to put on their wall to look good. They had a family member or themselves that was seeking healing. And I said, well, you need to talk to me. You need to tell me a bit about yourself. I need to understand your hurt. I need to understand your pain, because then my painting, I can create the artwork that will match somebody's need.
What we'll do then, Wayne, is after the show, I'll get you to give me the details. We'll link that over on the archive on TFR. We'll also put it in the description here on YouTube as well. And if you're in the YouTube chat, Wayne, feel free to tell people where to go and things like that. But if we may, I would like to now move on, if we can, because I'm very conscious of the time slipping by quicker and quicker.
Yeah.
And Donny, look at Donny, boy, sitting down there primed. Look at him. Donny, you're on the hot seat now, brother. So where would you like me to begin, Donny? I've got a whole heap of pictures labelled A, B, C, and D. A1, would that be the place to start?
Yeah, I think so.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of jump in and give you a hand here. Yes, we start with A1, A2, A3, A4, and A5, A6. How many have we got? Hang on. Yeah.
10.
9, 10. Yeah, we got 10. So the first two, I think the first two are to show you our symbols, contemporary and traditional, to give you an idea of what you're looking at, and some of it you saw in Wayne's paintings, and you'll see some more. So that's the traditional one and the contemporary one. And now
Scotland.
This is Scotland.
Yeah,
so, here we go.
So I'm going to let the boys take this over and discuss that. It's going to be interesting.
Donny, Wayne, John, where are we going? What's happening? What's this picture about?
Yeah, go on, Donny.
Yeah, now I got myself all confused there, brother. I think you might have to help me out here. Some say these circles represents waterhole to waterhole.
Whereabouts, do we know whereabouts in Scotland this comes from, Donny? Any idea?
Anne-Marie? Luna? You don't know?
She's on mute.
I think you're on mute, Luna.
You're on mute, Luna.
I said my half brain wasn't working. I don't know exactly where it was. I just know that it's in Scotland and it's one of the main petroglyphs that you have.
Well, I'm thinking this is looking very, very Pictish in style. Very, very Pict-like, and that takes us back a good few years.
Right. So why we chose this one is, as you can see, all the circles and the connections, similar to Wayne's paintings. You've seen in Wayne's and the diagrams we just showed you. As for what the story actually is, that's why I got the fellas here to discuss it, because as you know, they're more into it than me. They'll maybe come up with some ideas of what the story is there, or what it could be telling us. Is it a star map? Is it a ground map to tell us where all the food and water holes is? Yeah. So if you fellas want to jump in and we can theorise.
Yeah, you know, it's like my maps. You know, my cultural paintings showing where everything's linked. You have your small dots, you have your small circles, your large circles. That's a map across the country. It's pointing. One water hole will always point to another water hole.
Yes.
So you know, when people are travelling, they have landmarks. You know, one of those circles could be a hill, which points to a water hole. You know, where you can get water. It could be another one. Could be just a site on a flat open country that's pointing to an area, a meeting place, people where people gather.
Yes.
So I can relate to this because it's similar to my artwork, and I'm sort of I can see the connection, you know, and the meanings in that. It's like traveling across the earth, you know.
You know, Donny, to come back to you as well, these spirals are something that, whether it's Scotland, South America, they're all over the world, right? This is like a common kind of language. Would you agree?
Yeah, I believe this is before the Babel, with one common language that was back then. That's how I interpret that.
Yeah. John, what would you say about this image? Sorry, Luna.
I was just going to say, if you go to the next slide, there's a black and white picture of the spirals, and it's a bit clearer to see. Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Some say star map, and some say that could be a land map.
Yeah, that's what I would have said. Is sky country and you know, the country, the land, they're a mirror for each other. So this could be relating to, from what I see, is, you know, sacred places that connect with the sky country, and it's a map for the land to show you where your ceremonial places are, and the places that relate to the sky are.
Yeah, what is above, below.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, very.
Would you make of this when you see it, Scotty?
Well, I mean, I immediately see the commonality between, you know, what Wayne was representing in his pieces and a lot of the petroglyphs and things that you find in Australia. You know, it blows my mind because there's this common thread that you see through ancient cultures all throughout the entire planet, you know, and to me, it just signals that at one point, everybody was on the same page doing the same things. You know, everybody was there was just this common thing that everybody was tapped into and that everybody understood. And that's why you see these representations. I mean, you see the same sort of spiral and circular things in the desert Southwest with the Anasazi. You see this represented with Neses, the Anishinaabe, with their mounds and a lot of the things that they have, they represent. This is a common thing, and it just shows that I think that humanity as a whole was just, everybody understood. Everybody had this common connection with everything. And, now we're at this point where we're so fragmented. Everybody's fragmented into their own little things that, we've lost that understanding. So, yeah.
Now, ZX said this could be Kilmartin, Glenn, and it could very well be. It says over 5,000 years of human history can be traced across Kilmartin Valley, and at least 350 ancient monuments, of which 150 are prehistoric, lie within 6 miles of the quiet village of Kilmartin. So whether, I think this is a good shout, it could well be this area that we're looking at here, because this is a lot of activity for one small place, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating. So, you want me to move to the next picture, Donny?
Yeah, if you go to the next one, Kev, that's in Ireland. And again, you'll see the correlations between what we just saw.
Yep.
If you can,
very similar.
Yeah.
To add on this spiral thing, if you think of the simplicity of my ancestors, they're dream catchers. So the dream catcher is not only a spiral, but it is a mimic of the Fibonacci sequence. And if you look at the Fibonacci sequence, it is man's attempt to mimic the golden mean spiral. So you see this constant connection, to where it is. So like if you take rope and you coil it, it's a spiral. If you look at the shell of some ocean creatures, it's a spiral. The way the sunflower grows, it's everywhere in nature. And I think a lot of the indigenous people recognize this, and it was just a common sharing where, when we were talking earlier, we get so caught up in the differences of each other when we don't realize the similarities and the spiral back after this break.
Okay, this is utterly ridiculous. How quickly does this show want to be going? It's ridiculous, right? Donny, I blame you.
But I believe they're actually what I call them is point of origin.
Is that what you call spirals? Yeah.
Yes. Are we on the break?
We are on the break, but we're not on the break from YouTube. We have got over 100 people in YouTube, 114 right now. Thank you so much for tuning into this. Paul Baker, Sacred Geometry. Yes, that comes to mind as well. But this is like a universal language, Scott, right? Because it's all across the world.
That's what I'm saying. There was this commonality across all peoples across the globe that they were all engaging in the same thing, or tapping into the same knowledge was just a common thing across the entire planet, right? I mean, and this gets into like, oh, okay, well, they were building pyramids in South America, but they were building pyramids in Egypt, and there was pyramids, here, there, and everywhere. Why were they all building pyramids, or doing this and doing that? I mean, there's this common thing, there's this base level sort of thing that everybody seemed to be tapping into,
Look at how. Sorry, Scott.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
But witness how just tonight us on this experience, how we're transcending space and time. Kev, you're over there in Scotland where it's late at night. Here, where me and Scotty's time zone is, it's getting late evening, and then we cross down to the southern hemisphere where it's mid-afternoon almost, I believe. So we're and then you think with the beautiful technology and all those people that are out in YouTube all over the globe. So we are literally transcending space and time, and we're all connected.
I know. For you guys in America, you're getting a broadcast from the future. Even over in the UK here, we're already in strange Saturday territory, So I'm telling you, transcending time and geography. What a show! Well, I tell you, this is some unique stuff. Now I'm starting to panic, Scotty, because we've only got an hour left. I'm starting to panic because the woo is deep.
It's all right, Kevin.
It's gonna have to be rapid fire, man. But and not only is it like the spiral's a common thing that's represented, it's the concentric circles as well, which is it's not a spiral, but
you're back, Nese, right? 3, 2, 1, all you.
Hello, and hi. Welcome back. Hour number 3. It is going by quicker than you can imagine. But real quickly, thank you all for being here. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. You can also catch Kev on TFR Live Monday through Thursday with all of his special joy and love being the captain of the douche canoe.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for my full title. Not many people use it. Thank you, sir.
So as we were talking a little bit in the break about all of this symbology around the world, my ancestors along the Canadian and the United States border, they have these petroglyphs that are rock carvings, many different names, semantics. And I was saying how fortunate I am that there's an elder in my experiences that take these young Anishinaabe and they follow these ancient traditions and ceremonies, and they go out to these rocks where these carvings are, to where they're claiming 20,000 years plus ago, our ancestors of the Anishinaabe were going there and doing these same rituals and these same ceremonies. So thank you, Donny, for sharing this, and let's get at it.
Indeed, brother. So do you want me to bring up the next picture, Don?
Yes.
Okay. Bear with me. Okay, then here we go. I'll drop this. Wow, I'll drop this one over in TFR as well. So where are we looking at here, Donny?
We're looking at Sweden now, Kev.
Sweden?
Well, what we'll do, we're going to go all over the world with the next few pictures. This is from Sweden. I found this really fascinating because of the paths and the circles.
All like French paintings.
You know what that reminds me of, Luna? When we watched Our Alien Ancestry and the massive site where you've got the major stone circle, they were talking about the Egyptian boat that was in the water, and all the big megalithic stones that had been bulldozed away. It's almost a similar arc that takes, right?
It is, isn't it?
Very similar.
That's why we chose this one. And for it to be in France was quite surprising. Sweden, was quite surprising.
I was going to say, we're going back to France so soon. I don't think Donny's ready for that.
Did someone mention France?
So
that's the next picture, actually.
There we go. That's the next one.
France. Yeah. Like, to find something like that in France, it correlates with the rest, actually really spun me out. All of them did, actually.
Okay, so the next one we've got here is this one.
And that's from Italy.
Wow. No, I would never, ever have guessed that came from Italy. I really wouldn't. I'd have said Scotland, Ireland. Wow. Yeah.
And you know what else this reminds me of, Kev? This reminds me of a lot of the stuff that James Swagger brought to the table. right?
Absolutely.
I mean, a lot of the things that he brought to the table had the exact same style of carvings and everything going on. And so, yeah, there's definitely something going on here, you know. We're definitely onto something with this.
Swagger would talk about how all connected into not just the art, but acoustics, healing. I think he was kind of really. Whatever happened to James Swagger, I do not know, but that guy was like a gift in the time that we shared with him. I really hope he's okay. I haven't heard from him in years. He just disappeared off the face of the earth. But you're right, Scott. When we looked at the Irish one, James Swagger had come into my mind because that was very similar to the stuff he showed us there as well. So yeah, big shout out to anyone who knows James. Please tell him to get in touch if he's still alive, etc. John, what have you got to say about these ones, brother?
Yeah, Kev, I know Anne-Marie and Donny, we had a conversation about these images before we come on the show, and one of the things we forgot to do and in the acknowledgement was to just get all the TFR listeners and YouTube listeners that can see these images in online to just make an acknowledgement to say that these images are from specific cultures and to acknowledge those images, and some of them may be sacred images, and just to make everybody aware that those images are coming up in front of them, because the cultures that these designs come from, we acknowledge their cultural ownership and connection to those. So we wanted to do that up front, and we just forgotten about it. So I just wanted to let everybody know that some of these images could be very sacred, and to acknowledge the cultures that they come from.
See, that's the kind of thing that's totally lost on somebody like me, Scott. I would never even think about mentioning something like that. You know, and I would just kind of show these images willy-nilly. You know, oh, look at this good woo. We don't think along these kind of same lines, dude. We don't have that respect, you know? I don't know what it is, man. We've just been brought up different in the kind of modern world, right?
Yeah, and it's also because we really don't understand what they're representing, and they could represent something very, very culturally significant to the people who you know, etched those into stone, you know. And, you know, as we know, stone is one of the longest lasting, you know, ways of preserving information. So for them to put something down in stone like that means it had to be very, very significant to them, and that they wanted that information to be preserved for, you know, way beyond the time that they were going to be alive. They wanted people far into the future to be able to look at that and go,
yeah,
you know. And
so is that why I've been around so long? Because I'm stoned?
That's what it is, Nese. That's what it is. It's stone Nese theory. So here's another one here. Now this is where's this one come from?
That's from Russia.
Russia?
I found that really surprising. Russia.
Mm.
Wow. I suppose we shouldn't be surprised, right enough, that there's some in Russia. And then last one for this set of photographs. There we go there.
Yeah. And that's Africa.
Yeah. Now you can see also several other circles here. Is this Michael Tellinger type work? Is this Adam's calendar around that area?
I'm not sure. It just caught my eye because I realised it's a bit of an aerial view, that one. And I recognise those other circles, so there would have been others similar to the rock one that we saw with all the spirals all of each other.
You know, when you look into Michael Tellinger, he's done a great job of cataloguing a lot of the circles in Africa. Adam's calendar being one of the main ones. But there are literally hundreds, and I want to say thousands of these things just spread across the country. You know, that they're absolutely everywhere, and you don't really get an appreciation for it until you're flying over it. You know, it's not something you can appreciate from ground level.
Yeah. Sorry, Kev. I would say millions, because in North America, You know, there were so many of these circles that were destroyed to create farmland of all the different indigenous people. Because if we've talked about it before, when you have a circle and then in the center of that circle you put a phallic symbol or a stick, it's a sundial. And so they would use these to calculate points on the cycle for rituals. You know, and they've gone to rest, you know, but this is the beautiful about shows like this, where we can bring a resurgence of these teachings, and hopefully they can resonate with everybody.
Very well said. Donny, have you got anything to add to this one, bro?
No, not at the moment. But
Okay.
when we get up to the rock, tree carvings.
I've got them all ready to go. Now we're going to move on to I think this is the ones, let's see now, this is set B, Luna.
Yeah, these are the ochre hand paintings.
Wow.
The first ones are owls.
Now I'm seeing a lot of images in there that kind of make me think of some of the first ones that you shared here. We've got this one here, like the boomerangs in there, I think. It's a boomerang that we're seeing here.
Yeah.
Yep, and I believe they're kangaroo paws, are they, fellas? Are they kangaroo paws there? So these fellas are artists. They know
Yeah.
So
They look like real poles.
kind of moving quickly to these because I really want to get to the modified trees.
Now this one here, I've seen this before. This is amazing.
That's actually Argentina. When you watched the conference the other day, she put them up, and I recognised them and realised, oh, that's from Argentina. But that is the most beautiful cave handstands.
Really
They are. They're
There's
awesome.
more kind of similar.
Okay, and the next ones we have are from Africa.
Okay.
They're very similar. And then we have Borneo. There were more, but I've cut some out because of time factor. And they're from Borneo too. You can see the ochre there was a lot darker. It's like chocolate.
Yeah, a lot different altogether.
Yeah.
Any of you guys want to chime in on these pictures we're seeing here?
See, for us, for where Anne-Marie, Donny, and my people come from, and similar for Wayne, so we call a hand a mara or ma. And those those symbols in the cave. See, when you put your hand up in the cave, you connect into place, but you also connect into your ancestors, because you are one in a line of many. And when you put your hand up as a contemporary sense of a signature, you're connecting to your ancestors and putting your signature in a place to say, I am following in the footsteps of my ancestors in the connection to country. That's what Ma is. We call it Ma or Mara.
Yeah, Mara. Yeah.
Wow.
Mara, yeah. Virgin Jaramov call them Mara. Yeah, same word.
Pretty amazing, pretty amazing. Okay, so we're going to move on now to... Okay, so Donny. I think this is where you come into the mix here. What are we looking at here, Don?
This gentleman here is making a shield. He was taking bark off a tree. Yeah, I believe this photo was taken around Taree area, which is about the mid-north coast of New South Wales. It's a very rare photo because you don't see many photos of people doing this right here. And they usually take the bark off a tree, off a young tree, on the eastern side to help it heal a lot better.
Got you. Okay, so it doesn't truly so the tree can recover kind of thing?
Yes. Yeah. And it's the respect to the tree because you're taking something off that tree to make a tool out of it.
That's amazing. And we've got a lot of examples here of this, right? Because we see the similar thing here, yeah?
Yes. That could be a column, which some people call as the dinner plate.
And I jumped in there. I did have a picture of John, because it's actually John that cut that one, and I had a picture of him holding them, but I couldn't get it through. It's on John's phone. So that's actually John cut that cooler one out.
If I may quickly add with that whole thing about how they cut on the east side. Well, like my people, we cut on the north side more prominently. And if you think about why, because the sun is hitting them longer on the south side. So if you cut the tree and it gets too much sun, it could burn the tree. And so they would cut it on the side that's opposite of the sun so it can go through the natural healing process so it doesn't get burned out. You know, so there's almost like a science behind it.
Indeed, and I would imagine because you're dealing with the southern hemisphere as opposed to the northern hemisphere. The sun's going to be hitting at a different direction, so the Anishinaabe or the natives here in North America would cut from one side, whereas the natives down in Australia would cut from the other side. Very interesting.
The other thing too, Scotty, if it's cut off the eastern side, like if you're in an area where it's heavily fog, and you got yourself a bit lost, and if you come across one of these modified trees, you know it's on the eastern side, so you can actually out north, south, east, west end.
So then it's also used as a marker for direction as well. You know, dual purpose.
Also a marker too.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? Yeah.
Excellent. That's awesome.
So what's this one we're looking at here then, Donny? Is this somebody just doing a...
This is a retrieval of a bark, contemporary.
Okay.
And just to show you how they did it.
Now this looks like a bigger one here, right?
Now this one here, possibility is burial shroud. Small one-man canoe. And it depends on its site, but that's a yard ruler, so I say it's about a metre long. So possibly it might have been a burial shroud.
Although it would make a perfectly sized canoe for a man of my stature. Probably, yeah, probably. So if we move on to this one here now, this must have taken a bit of doing. This is, talk to us about this one, man.
Well, this one is really old because you can see how the bark is regrown and that curvature. And you got two new branches coming off. I'm guessing that tree probably close to 200 years old.
And it shows how the tree didn't suffer any. It went on to thrive and keep growing, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yep. Then we've got this one here. Oh, now this has to be a canoe, right?
Yeah. Do this one. If you actually want to see how a canoe is made, there is a movie called 10 Canoes. They actually show you how they made a buck.
Is that what you call it, a buck?
Yeah, it's a bark canoe.
Bark canoe, got you.
I don't know our language for it. John might, but all I'm knowing is that bark canoe.
What do you make of this then, John? Talk to us about this, man.
Yeah, the thing is with these trees, see when they take the bark off, they acknowledge the tree because the tree is a living being. And we see the world as being animate. So all things have spirit because they are created from a great power. So we are all connected in the circle of life. And when you look at it from a scientific point of view, ecologically there is a web of life and we are all connected. So the scientific knowledge and the traditional knowledge both align. And what it says is all these living things are a part of each other and a part of us. So when we took the bark off the tree survived. So that tree is our relative. And we only killed the tree unless we really had to. So in our language, the name for a canoe, I think it's bundur, but I have to. It's because our language is actually, again, quite endangered. And
yes, it is.
When you look at the natural world and the cultural world, a lot of the extinctions that have happened in Australia as a continent. A lot of language extinctions are also happening. So our language is actually a threatened language. I can speak a little bit of broken conversation from one that I've learned from my elders, but there's not enough speakers around now for us to have conversations to be able to maintain our language. So I forget too, because again, academia is all English, academic English, common English. So speaking our traditional languages, again, with this knowledge, we're slowly losing it one bit at a time, Kev.
Yeah. I'm shaking my head listening to you even talking about that. It's beyond a sin. Nese, how about your language and things? Does that still go strong, brother?
It is the same challenge where the assimilation has definitely taken hold because the elders are passing and they're not passing on the language as quickly enough. I've had the pleasure of going up into Canada where there's a strong retention of the language. And may I add, and maybe Scotty can add to this too, but I was really worried about how well your guys' English has gotten, but it sounds fantastic tonight.
Oh, it's doing absolutely fantastic. And just to add on to what Nese said, because I put it in the Skype there, I was like, it's the same thing that we're dealing with here in the U.S. with the native languages as well. And I've known many people who were of native descent who didn't really understand all of their own language. And like Nese, Nese can probably vouch for that too. There's a lot of Anishinaabe or people of native cultures out there who don't even understand their own language, or have maybe a base level grasp of it, but don't understand the whole thing. And like you said, there's a lot of these tribal elders that are passing on, and they're not able to fully teach the younger generation. So it's becoming, the language is becoming endangered, and it could be lost to time if it keeps going at this rate. So, yeah, it's a concern. It's a concern.
Yeah, big time, dude, big time. So if we come back then, Donny, I'm going to pull up another one of these images here, brother. And now this one's got an animal carving in it.
Oh, wow. Looks like a platypus.
Yep.
Yeah, this is more contemporary again. I
Nice.
believe that the local mob around there, their totem is platypus. But
Awesome.
I haven't got any more information about it, Scotty.
That is
But-
awesome. I'm with you, Scott. I seen the platypus right away. There's no way you can miss that. But that is that's pretty cool, right? You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of Göbekli Tepe, but on a tree. Because Göbekli Tepe's got all the animals and all that depictions. It's almost, I don't know, that's where my head went, Scott.
Yeah, either Göbekli Tepe or some of the Nazca lines that had the different, animals being represented that you had to see from the air or whatever.
So would that be common here then, guys? Like if you go into one mob's area from another mob, are these the kind of totems, the kind of symbols that you would see to depict where you're going, and or am I kind of off the mark there?
That'd be a hard one.
Yeah,
Those things.
I'd just like to tell us a little bit of a story about the platypus.
Oh, yes.
Katie's people also carved on rock, and we do have a platypus type looking animal on rock in Central Australia, right out in the desert. So it's right beside a creek, and there's many aquatic animals that have been carved, etched on rock actually, So we not only had our paintings, but we had engravings and stuff like that on sandstone rock.
Now, Wayne, would that be used as almost like a teaching tool?
Well, it would have been the area is not really common. Like, it's not an area that public can go and see. Would have been used in ceremonies and for young men going through initiation, or women that are allowed to go to certain sites. The area is out of bounds. You would never find it unless you went exploring and risked your life out in the remote desert. Not many people go into. So a lot of our engravings and that are they're not as common as people do in canvas artwork, but because they're stoned, they're out in the bush in special places. But that image there, I've been to it and I've seen it myself.
Pretty cool, pretty cool. John, what do you want to say about this one, man? What's your thoughts on this?
I didn't take photos because sometimes, we've got a little bit forbidden to.
I think we've got a bit of lag kicking in there between Scotland and Australia. John, what's your thoughts on the platypus?
Yeah, just with what Wayne was saying, you got to understand that the platypus has been extinct in Central Australia for thousands of years. Excuse me. So that just shows the antiquity of that of what Wayne is talking about.
I had no idea. I had no clue. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Years, and it's only on the east coast. And when we talk about the platypus, our people are Wiradjuri and Gumara. That's our First Nations people. Now the Wiradjuri story from those side of my family, there's a specific story about the platypus. Now the platypus is a very unusual animal. It lays eggs. It's a monotreme. It's a special type of critter they call monotreme. It lays eggs but suckles its young. It has the beak of a bird and webbed feet of a water rat. And traditionally our creation story says that the Wulmai, the water rat man, he lusted after one of the women from the
Hold that thought, brother. Hold that thought. We've just been cut off by the break. There we go. We'll pick that up because I want you to tell that story again on the other side, please, John, because that sounded really, really cool, didn't it, Scott?
Yeah, that did sound cool. Yeah, you're going to have to get back into that when we get back.
I can't believe we've only got one segment remaining. Wow. Luna, you've been very quiet. I feel really bad because you've been up early in the morning. You've helped put all this together and we've hardly heard from you.
No, that's okay. They're saying it all, so
Okay, I just don't want.
I'll jump in when I need to.
I just hate the thought of you. I hate the thought of you sitting there and thinking, "Oh, why did I get up this time in the morning? I hardly even got on the mic." So as long as you're okay, Luna, as long as all
I
good.
had to draw my eyebrows on too, Kev.
I'll give you some of my eyebrows. I've got big caterpillars. I could definitely spare some. Look at the colour of me. I tell you, I'm looking Australian, right? Look at the suntan. It's coming on great, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. You look Kev's starting to look like a rotisserie chicken over there, man.
Speak about Australia enough and you start to look like it, right? But no,
well, the one thing about
on you go, Nese.
The one thing about the platypus that kind of breaks my heart, I can't confirm or deny that it's a very sad historical moment of North America, but the animals were so mean that they pushed the platypus away and they said, "Hey, you're going to have to go down to Australia because all we do is just laugh at you." The most teased animal in the animal kingdom.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realise they've actually got poisonous spines on their back legs.
Yes, they do. Yep. You don't want to get scratched by the back legs of those platypus.
They look quite harmless.
It's a fantastic name for any animal, though. Right? I think the duck-billed platypus. Come on, I mean, who came up with that? I'm just saying.
It's one of those animals. It's probably it's just one of those crazy animals where it's like, wow, the creator was like, okay, I'm gonna make something that's really gonna like throw people for a.
Yeah,
if I could humbly suggest that the four of you write a movie script about how the duck-billed platypus actually can talk, and it starts talking because it's so fearful it's going to go into extinct that it has to start waking other people up to pay more attention to the animals that are going extinct.
Funny you mention extinct. ZX was saying about Göbekli Tepe. What if the stones are to do with tribes or clans? And when I look at Göbekli Tepe, I see it almost like a museum, like a repository, because they knew something was coming. That they buried all the stones, and I'm wondering if they were cataloguing and recording the wildlife, the animals that they knew were about to maybe be wiped out. I don't know. It's weird. There's so many different ways of looking at it.
I think that they could see that there was some kind of cataclysm on the horizon, and they wanted to document the way everything was at the time.
Let's do it.
All right.
Freaky Friday.
Welcome back, and it is a very, very not so freaky Friday, but I think a very enlightening Friday. And it's Saturday over in Australia, where the majority of this information that is really blowing my mind today is coming from. And again, I just want to take time out quickly to thank Luna, Wayne, Donny, John, Nese, Scotty, just for being a part of this and helping to put all this together. And obviously, Donny, John, Wayne, Luna, collecting all these images, sharing this information. Again, I can't convey how lucky I feel to just be here and
Captain
be a part
Kev.
of this. Yes, Captain Kev is very, very grateful today, Nese. But I want to come back
But if I could interrupt you real quick.
Okay, and then pass
Freaky
it.
Friday on the 13th of August, 5 for 5 hours of Freaky Friday, the Freaky Paranormal Friday portal with
like
Brent
it.
Thomas.
I like it.
And he won't be on tonight. Tonight he doesn't have a show. They're squatching. And if I may suggest or share, next Friday, Nese might be on the paranormal portal also.
Oh, nice. 5 hours of Nese next week. I like a bit of that.
Since it's 5 hours, can we call it the Pentacle of Woo?
Oh, I like it. I like it, dude. I like it. So listen, let's go back to John, because we were getting a story about one of my favouritely named animals, the duck-billed platypus. And you were talking about how this ties in with creation myths, right, John?
Yeah, so the name is Gayadari is the name of the platypus, and the story goes, the creation story is a teaching, and it tells us that the platypus come about in a specific way. So there's teachings and lessons in it. So the platypus is a mixture of a duck and a water rat. So that's the Guinea, the duck people, and Gumai, the water rat people. So traditionally, the Gumai, as a man, he lusted after a duck woman. But traditionally, those people weren't allowed to mix. They're not allowed to mix their bloodlines. So he was told that he wasn't allowed to be with that woman. But his lust and his want, he went and kidnapped her. And he took her from her people, and the people realized she was missing, so they sent out parties to look for the lost duck woman, Garanyai woman. And what the Gumai had done is he took her away, and he used her and abused her, and she fell pregnant. But for us, the lesson is learned is if we mix the wrong bloodlines, we revert back to our Dingar, or what Nese would say, do dem, Nishnabe Mawin. So, as he might be able to explain more, but what the lesson is when you mix the bloodlines, you revert back to a more primitive state. So the children that come from the Gumai and the Garingai duck was a mixture of both. So she had the babies had duck bills, but then feet like the Gumai, the water rat. And when they caught the Gumai man, they took the woman away back to her people, and they punished him. But unfortunately, all the descendants from that, well, it wasn't a marriage, but from that union, become the platypus. So that's a lesson for us, and it also explains the very strange characteristics of this animal. But it also goes to an even deeper sense of where your bloodlines come from and who you can and who you can't marry. Because traditionally we have stories of people that come from the north, people that come from the west, and they were different types of people, and they mixed to create the people we are today. So our ancestral stories of kinship and clan marriage all relate to a history of where people of different types of stature and different types of human beings, as we would call Neanderthal, Denisov, and all those different types of peoples come into Australia and were created and forged into the mix of humanity, which we call Homo sapiens.
That ties
So that
in.
story also
I mean,
talk about that.
that really ties in so much with the conversations I've been having with Evan and Stephen Strong. And Stephen shared last time on the show that I think he's 2 or 3% Denisovan. So it totally fits with what John's been saying here. Not that I should be surprised that it fits, because all of this goes together. Absolutely fascinating. Now I'm going to have to bring up the next picture, because if not, I'm going to forget and we'll not get through them all. So this one here, wow, this is different. Now what are we looking at here then, guys?
Donny's not there, but so for us, when in the northwest of New South Wales, Radri and Gamarai people, we used a lot of trees to teach. So in Central Australia, as Wayne might explain, they had specific ways of teaching. They had special dot art and special characteristics that reflect their tradition of art. In the northwest, we've done a lot on trees. So we removed the bark and carved on the heartwood. And that was because we lived in the woodlands, we lived on the rivers, and that's what was there. We didn't have overhanging rock shelters to do art or a lot of stone, so we done it a lot on trees. And that particular artwork is reflecting a story that is carved on trees. But for us, I explained to Donny and Anne-Marie, there were photos of those traditional trees, but for us, it's actually not appropriate to show those for a general audience. Yeah. Whereas that one is a contemporary one. It's a contemporary symbols and stories you can, but traditionally, those carved trees were in sacred places, and our young people would go to those sacred places, and they would be storyboards for engagement, like a PowerPoint, and it's a living PowerPoint. So yeah, that's a contemporary artwork that talks about people coming from different places, and those V shapes in the middle is reflecting.
Donny's fired up the chainsaw, or a Harley Davidson, or a time machine, or something going on there.
I'd just like to add the other pictures I did have that we couldn't show you, and I could slip them to you privately later, guys. They were like burial markers and stuff like that. That's why I can't show them. They were in that kind of nature. So
now can I ask you something, Luna? Because I've noticed when I go to the Our Alien Ancestry or Forgotten Origin, the Out of Australia website that the Strongs have, I always notice that on the side there's a warning for Original folk that says that these articles may contain information from people that may now have passed. Can you explain that a little bit to me, Luna? Because, I mean...
Yeah, that's a twofold thing. One, it's so we don't upset people because it could be their relatives, because we're a tight-knit community and we know each other lots. So if there's an uncle or auntie up there and it might upset you. The second thing is when, I think I've told you this before, when people pass over, for quite a period of time, we don't say their name. So we don't...
Yeah, because it keeps them here. It kind of keeps them... Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So the same for the photos. We don't want to look at things associated to them because it'll bring that back and could jolt them out of wherever they are, depending on how strong that pull is. And a lot of it's got to do with just letting them go and leaving them be in spirit world because they're at peace. So we put up warnings. And two, sometimes at the time the show's on, that person could be alive, and then later on in the future when you watch it, they passed away. So, and it could be a shock. Like I've had it happen to me. I can't watch certain things now because I know the people that were in those movies, and it upsets me dearly, and I don't want to pull them back through my emotional attachments because I love them. So, yeah, I stay away from it. That's what the warning's for. So we just turn away. We don't look. We don't watch.
Thanks for explaining that. That makes a lot of sense now, you know.
If you'd like to hear a little bit more on that, people who pass away in our Central Australia, we use Kumanjay. Kumanjay is a common name, so we don't call them by that J. It means passed on. And another group further south of us is Kumana and Kumanjay. Kumanjay is more or less saying, talking to that person. They don't call them the English name, they call them Kumanjay. So if somebody had my name and they passed away and I knew that person, they would call me Kumanjay. They won't call me Wayne. So that just gives a little bit more context around how things change and how we have to, it's like our cultural obligation to follow that system. You know, it's too dreadful if
we got off the trees for carrying our babies in.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
We can put them on the ground because we can't put our babies on the ground because of the ants and everything. We carried them around and we put them in coolamons. And yeah, the women would do that too. We'd go and make the coolamon for our babies because in our culture, you're taught everything when you're young, male or female. We're all taught the similar things as far as getting coolamons, making stuff and all that we need in common sense. So when we all grow as adults, the men are just as capable as the women. So if the dad's like, I'm having a baby, he might want to cut the coolamon. The women usually do it, but it might be a present from one of the men, you know, from an uncle or a dad or... and that's what we do. We put the possum skin or kangaroo skin or paper bark, whatever soft that you got at the time, and put the baby in the coolamon.
Beautiful. There we go. So what's this one here then?
Okay. All right, this is Donny. Donny, where are you, bro?
Donny's disappeared.
This is really important. Yeah, this is really important. I might get John to explain actually why that carving, is different to all the others that we saw. Do you remember that, John?
A square rather than a round one.
Yeah.
When you cut, for instance, a wiri or a gulaman for like a baby, like a big round curved fish that would be acting as like a baby's crib. This one's actually square, and it's square because they took the bark off to use to do art. So it's square because the artwork they used to paint oak. They used ochre paints and painted a storyboard like Wayne's art, but instead of on canvas, we done it on bark, and we used it for ceremonies. And it's different because you don't often see them. You usually see the round ones, which are everyday use of for dishes, for plates, for all different things. But the square ones are pretty rare because they're associated with ceremony and teaching and learning. That's why, because Donny's also a cultural heritage officer, and he works with archaeologists to try to protect our heritage sites through development with national park. So he's back now, but yeah, that's the square one, so that's a rare one.
Oh, we got onto the square one, have we?
Yeah.
Come on, Donny, tell him why it's so important. We just told him what it was. And tell
He's like
him
Beetlejuice. If you say his name 3 times, he appears.
I think Donny's lagged out now.
So, Donny, where was this tree? Oh, we lost him, and we lost him.
I think we did lose him there, actually.
Oh, well, I'm going to tell you. He
Okay.
told me the story. This tree is not far from where Donny was born.
Oh.
So it's in the vicinity of his birthplace. That's what makes it so special. And then when we found out from John that what it was used for, it made it extra special. So there were old dance grounds in that area not far from where Donny was born. So I don't know if people understand that Donny still lives in country. He still lives where he was born. And all those things around him have been there for hundreds and hundreds of years, and they're in his backyard. So he has that advantage over like me and John, because we don't have that, and he still lives in that. So he's very blessed. Yeah, there you are, bro.
I'm having a strife here in the world here, me. I only got my ugly fucking thing.
Just you talk to us about this, about where you live, Donny. Luna was sharing with us there that, you know, you're still living on country where you were born. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, well, see where the scar tree is?
Yep.
About 100 metres down the hill is exactly where I was born.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's very personal to me. Now, another 100 metres up the hill, there's a special tree. It's still there?
Yep.
Yep, we're here.
Yeah. Now, 100 metres down the tree, where that is, there's another little special place they call Gravity Hill, where your car, park your car and put it in neutral, it'll go back up the hill backwards.
Yeah, we've got a place over here near Glasgow. They call it Electric Bray. It's another place that is very exactly what you're saying there. It's bizarre.
Yeah, now, there's once was a temple there. I believe it might be Egyptian.
Whoa.
Because where is it? You got that photo of that
the big square cut rock, was it?
Yeah, it's one with the hieroglyphs on it. I sent it to you.
Okay, was that the round one? It looks like a sun symbol.
No.
You sent me through. You sent me a tall square cut one, and then you sent me a close up of another one. It looks like it's got a sun symbol cut in it, and then there's broken
a pyramid on it. Squiggly lines. I can't think of the other names of the line, but it was found by Rex Gilroy.
Oh.
Have you got Luna?
Got it. One. Oh, that one. Yes. Okay, one moment. I'll just send it to Kev.
No probs. Are you sending it on Skype or Discord?
Through Discord.
Okay.
Yeah, through Discord.
No problemo.
So the other thing, Paul, what Wayne was saying, this is where this highway has been put in, was original walk track for the N1 people, which is my people.
Where did that noise come from? That was beautiful.
Oh, magpie.
That's my phone. I'm trying to retrieve the image.
I thought that was the duckbill platypus.
I don't use ordinary phone tones.
I'm waiting for this picture to come through here. And we've got about
technologically
8 minutes left, folks. 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
So, John, let me come to. In fact, on you go, Donny.
There's a monolith megalith is also there too, and it's 3-sided, squared off, but the back's natural. There's also comes with the so-called temple was supposed to be there as well.
Didn't you?
On the side of that mountain is 2 rocks look like 2 old men sitting, and I believe used to call them as like sentinels.
Yeah.
But I didn't know pictures of that.
Now it says here, this that I'm looking at, it says this ancient Egyptian inscription engraved upon a granite block was found by Rex Gilroy in a secluded Moonbee Range, New South Wales in 1991. The inscription lies amid the ruins of an apparent collapsed temple. And the inscription reads, "The Exalted One of Heaven, His works are here to keep safe." And I think for people out there, you're going to have to really, to get an appreciation of the connection between Australia and the Egyptians going to Australia, you really need to go and look into some of the back work that Evan and Stephen Strong have done. They've actually got people from the Ministry of Antiquities, not Zahi Hawass, but 2 other individuals who are on there, and they have looked at some of the hieroglyphs that are over in Australia, and they make a compelling case for a lot of travel between Egypt and Australia, and a lot of the knowledge being taught to the Egyptians in Australia. And that's coming from Egyptian scholars. Not me sitting in Glasgow, not somebody in Australia that's trying to add a bit of super sauce onto their story. This is coming from the Egyptians themselves. And I never really appreciated the size of the boats that the Egyptians had until I watched these 2 archaeologist guys talking about it. And they show you that on the boat there's maybe, for example, I'm just going to pick a number, 40 or 50 men with weapons or men with oars. That should give you a size of what the boat is for 50 people odd to be in a boat like that. This isn't some canoe. And it talks to a global transfer of peoples and knowledge and are coming and going to from Australia. So listen, people can check that out over on Stephen and Evan Strong's Forgotten Origin YouTube channel. It's all on there. You can go to their website, forgottenorigin.com. But I want to come to you first, John, for some final words, probably about a minute each before we wrap up today. So, John, over to you, brother.
Thank you, Kev. My only things I would say is be kind to each other, be kind to yourself, and see good things, see good in all things. So no matter what it is, see good in all things. Thanks, Kev.
Thank you, brother. Donny, any final words for the audience, brother?
Just one word, show love.
A man of few words, but profound, very profound. Wayne, thank you again for sharing your art. Now, remember when we get off the call here, or off the show, Wayne, I'll get your details so I can add this into the description for people who do want to contact you. But I didn't really appreciate it until I've actually looked at it now. But the image that I chose for today's show kind of ties in with a lot of the art that we've looked at from Wayne, because it's made up of the circles, it's made up of the dots, it's got the original colours there. It's got Australia in the middle, right enough. But I don't know, it's only when I just looked at it there now in wrapping up the show, I'd kind of overlaid that on Ayers Rock. And it does have a bit of a feeling about one of your paintings about it. That's all I can say, Wayne. So thank you for sharing that today. And any final thoughts for the audience?
Yeah, I think for the audience, keep your mind open. Yeah, just never get hungry to learn more, hungry to reignite your learnings, because it's in our DNA, and I think it's important to keep your mind open.
I tell you, these Australians, they have few words, Scott, but they say it perfectly, right? I need to be able to talk as quickly and as, shortened version as these Aussies. Right?
No doubt, man.
But listen,
And,
we need to get Auntie Luna. Auntie Luna, can you say a couple of words to kind of close this out today? Because, and again, let me thank you for being really instrumental in putting this together. I've got the easiest job. I turn up here at 5 minutes before the show and just do my thing, but you've really taken time out to work on this, so thank you, Luna.
Oh, thank you, Kev. Thank you, Scotty. I want to thank Wayne and Nese and John and Donny for joining us, and I hope everyone enjoyed the information we had today. And I want to say hello, Auntie Pearl, and hello to my mum if she's watching. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Thanks, Kev, again. Love to you all on this day, and, well, what else?
That's about it. That's about it. Scotty Lopez, I missed you putting one in the chat room, brother.
Oh, don't worry about it, man. It was going to be a long, contrived thing that probably was going to take up too much time anyway.
It's taking us to the end. We need to learn the Australian abbreviated way, right?
Exactly. So I'll just leave everybody with I love you all. And we had an awesome conversation, and I just want to thank all of our Australian friends here who were kind enough to share their knowledge with us. And yeah,
that's about it.
See everyone next week, man.
So Nese, you take us out today, dude. On you go, man, because you helped to put this together as well, and I thank you for that, Nese. So take us out, bro.
Chi Miigwech Anishinaabe. And all you have to do is proclaim that you're Anishinaabe, and you are. Apegish Bimadaziv Miyan. Toodles.
Wow.
Do not touch that dial.
Exactly. I didn't even bother tonight. There was no need. The information, this was different tonight. And we had to kind of shift up the way we finished there. But for the YouTube audience, what can you say to that? Absolutely jaw-dropping stuff. Scotty can't beat a bit of Australian Freaky Friday woo, right?
Boy, you want to talk about, the time flying on Freaky Friday in general. But man, when you're getting into this kind of information, it was just like the blink of an eye, and there went 3 hours. Gone.
I can imagine all of us, if we were around a campfire, before we know it, the sun would be coming up. We'd be thinking, whoa, where did the night go,
Definitely.
Well, when Wayne was talking about that one image about when you guys said the big red image of the entity there, as soon as you guys said that, I got the feeling of how they talk about when you heal, when you lay upon hands, like laying up, how people will lay hands upon you for healing and stuff. As soon as you talked about that red creature, then all of a sudden I got that feeling. And then next thing you know, you guys started talking about all the handprints in the back, and I just got goosebumps on it.
Wow.
And that's true.
Ned.
And then when you guys talk about the bark and how the birch bark is so in such a high reverence to my ancestors, and the way you guys talk about the bark is almost exactly how we utilize the birch bark.
Just looking at this even closer, the image that you're talking about, Nese, again, you really do. It takes time to kind of digest everything that's going on in here, right? Because it's so detailed. And when you zoom in on it, there's even more of a story going on, right? It's beautiful.
Indeed. Like I said, I'm totally going to use that as my profile background on Facebook. Like, I'm not even joking. I've already saved it to my computer. I'm gonna put it on there because there's just something about that particular one that immediately.
Me and Kev noise. Yeah, we both made a noise when we seen it, dude. It was weird.
We were both like, oh, whoa, yeah, wow, So when something invokes immediate response, there's something going on there. You know, there's something that's an immediate connection. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So listen, let me wrap this up then. It's almost 3 a.m. here over in the UK. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in today, whether it's Friday, whether it's Saturday. And hopefully, fingers crossed, in the near future, we can do this again. Because I don't think we've even scraped the surface yet. And even if it's just to bring Wayne on and we look at more of his paintings, I think we could probably kill 3 hours doing that in the blink of an eye. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Now, Wayne's going to give me his details. Wayne, do you want to tell people before we go where the best place is to find you?
Well, at this stage, it's an email. Still developing a social platform to promote what I do. Cage Man, spelled I can type it out on the chat if you like.
Yeah, put that in there and then I'll put it into the chat room for people. That's great, brother.
So this is just an email that I'm using in the meantime, which will get to me, and I can get responses through the email to start with. It's easier than phoning, I guess. Yeah. So I think the email is probably my best platform to use.
I can see the hearing.
Did that come up?
What's that, sorry?
Did the email?
Yeah, the email's here. Yeah, I'm just about to put it into the chat room. It's KTJ Man. There you go.
Man.
Yep, there it is. It's in the chat room. So if people want to contact Wayne, that's where to go. I'll put it on the TFR archive. I'll put that email in the description on the YouTube after the show as well. But everyone here today, for the audience, I think we really did. That was something very, very special that we got to hear today. I can't thank Scotty, Nese, Luna, John, Wayne, and Donny enough for being a part of this. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you all have a great weekend out there. And I'll be back on Sunday with a members stream, and maybe tomorrow, because Scotty, I've sussed out how to live stream on Odyssey. I've sussed it out, man. I've sussed it out. Yes, I've sussed it. So we have a new platform, yes.
Well, Mr. Baker, if one would like a wingman on an Odyssey live stream,
I think we might have found a home for Woodshed 18.
You'd be ridiculously silly.
Yeah, Woodshed 18. It's the working title of a new Monty Python meets Kevin Bloody Wilson stream.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of a short but really catchy name for a channel name on Odyssey for myself, because I'm gonna
The Lopez. You deserve a The Lopez.
The Lopez. I was thinking like Mr. Lopez, but maybe The Lopez. I don't know.
Mr. Lopez. I like that. Yeah, Mr. Lopez.
Oh, you always call me Mr. Lopez. Right? Mr. Lopez.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys. I'm not even going to play as any. Well, I will play as some music today. It just wouldn't be right. Wouldn't be right if I didn't play some freaky music on the way out of here. But I've had a blast. Luna, you had a blast.
Yep, I loved it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, like to hear. Hang on now. Wait, we see. Oh, in fact, hang on. I might have something even better to play us out. Wait till I check now. Is it there? Or is it over here? Dun, dun, dun. Talk just now, Nese, while I find something. You've always got something to say, Nese. Always.
Oh, if I only had a moment to say a few things, I would just babble on and on. But since I don't have a thing to say, I'll just babble on and on. Today I'm going to sing a song instead of speaking words to you. And if you have a problem with it, there's nothing you can do.
I've got it.
So
thank
dude. You again.
I've got it, dude. I've got it. Your singing was killing it. As much as I would love to listen to you finish that song.
Oh.
Boy, oh boy, eh? I'm telling you. So listen, folks, thank you all for tuning in today. And I think this is the perfect way to take us out. Big thank you to Uncle Donny for this.